Hey guys, it's Tim with Tabletop Terrors. Behind the scenes, as always, is James. And today, we're bringing you the second part to the one-shot that we started, the Copper Jackals, Welcome to the Dirtbox. Really, the Copper Jackals are just D&D special forces, the people you send in when nobody else can do the job. And so, what I'll do first is show you these fine folks beneath me who are able to introduce their channels, go about telling you who they are and how you can find more of them on the web. Alrighty? So I'll go ahead and throw it to you, my man, Locrius.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Locrius. I play rock and roll. I'm from space. You can check out my band Planetoid at Planetoid Music on the YouTube. I also have a channel where I do some Dungeons and Dragons Deadliest. I dig into the weirdest, creepiest monsters out there. That's just my personal channel called Locrius Planetoid. Totally psyched to be playing with this group of great guys. It's going to be awesome.
Nice. So we'll take it next to my good buddy, Dice Roller Josh. Take it away, Josh.
All right, everybody. I'm Josh from Dice Roller Josh, of course. And my channel is on the YouTube's Dice Roller Josh. Have it down there in the header if you don't see it. I do, just general RPG stuff. I have a couple of campaigns and one-shots, different things planned. Admittedly, I've been not on the productive side recently, but that's work and school for you coming up. So just going to have a good time here again.
Awesome, man. Very cool. So I'll leave it last but certainly not least, Mr. Chad.
Hey guys, Chad here. I have a website called gastrogamer.wordpress.com. We work on a lot of game accessibility reviews for children with disabilities and things, so I want to talk about stuff like that. We're going to talk about RPG stuff, pretty much gaming related all the time. And as far as the YouTube channel to come with it, that is going to be coming here fairly shortly. I'm hoping to get it up before Brigade Con, so there's that.
You're muted, brother.
Brigade Con. If you haven't registered for Brigade Con, it is an online tabletop RPG convention. We basically just do a bunch of Google Hangouts with gaming, panels, interviews for about 24 hours, and that is going to be on October 10th. So go register. You can register to play. You can register to run games. And at this point, we're just looking for more people to be involved. So brigadecon.org, you can go. Right now, actually, while you have the Copper Jackals game playing in the background. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right in. This is part 2 of Welcome to the Dirtbox. Now, blatantly stealing this from Mr. Matt Click, I am going to give inspiration to whoever wants to try to recap the last session articulately and clearly, and then we'll jump into some action. Who volunteers?
Yeah, I can try to do that for you.
All right.
Essentially, we started out in a prison cell, worked our way. We were greeted by a commander named Riker, or Riken, correct? Okay, and then we were taken down to these big double doors where he opened them up, and we were greeted by another presence by the name of Scalder, who gave us kind of our whereabouts of what we were going to be doing as Copper Jackals, the things that we needed to leave behind in our life before we could really initiate ourselves into the group. We had to give away 3 items that were the most important to us, and then throw them into a fire to kind of purge ourselves of that. Once we did it, he gave us like an initiation toast, and then we passed out. When we woke up, we were in an elevator that was headed up to the top of the mountain of Sphere. As we came out, we were greeted by a Manticore handler by the name of Tim. If you could help me out with that.
His name was Zardos.
Zardos, thank you. And as he was explaining to us, the Uldane prison had gone missing, and that our job was not to die, and that we must go and find out where this prison is and the whereabouts of it. As we hopped onto the Manticores that the Manticore handler had, we parachuted and parasailed down onto an animated stone dwarven golem, and as far as I know, we have currently landed on the golem, and we are currently fighting it. If I remember correctly, I think that's where we left off. We were currently fighting the.
That's it.
Yep.
Good job. Give yourself a point of inspiration, and it's up to you to remember to use it.
I'll have it written here, so we're good.
Perfect. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to do that thing that I'm going to bring us back to my childhood. In the 90s, there were cartoons that I would watch, and these cartoons would always do this. Right before the commercial, something crazy would happen, and you're like, oh, what? And then when it would come back from the commercial, it would rewind like 10 seconds, and you're like, wait, what? And then it would happen a little differently. So that's exactly what we're going to do. So 90s flashback on all of you. You'll probably notice that, unfortunately, Night Hag DM was unable to join us tonight. So I'm going to be running her character just for the beginning of the session here. And we have something worked out. So I'll go ahead and start off. We're about 10 seconds before the last session ended. Wind is whistling. And that's all you hear. And as you see this enormous two-story dwarven golem, it's getting larger and larger as it gets closer and closer. And you just hear the... And then there's a moment of silence before each of you does what you're going to do. But before that happens, you notice on your side a sort of black mist, an energy, a vapor, and it sort of begins to crackle and buzz around Jax. And as she's falling, and as she's falling, and as she's falling, she hits the golem first with her lance. But almost instantaneously, something that you've never seen before occurs. Almost as if she folds in on herself. This black maw, seemingly from nowhere, swallows her up. And she's gone. And the only thing in the air is a fine red mist, slowly, unnaturally, falling to the ground. You don't know if she's alive, and you don't know if she's dead, but you're certain that she won't be joining you on this mission. So, as you're falling through the sky, as the wind is whistling, what do you do?
Just as this last time, while the air is whistling and this golem was before us, I took out a canister that looked like, a glass canister off of my belt that looked like it was full of ash, what seemed like ash, and I dropped it midair as I was kind of, go like skydiving right behind the golem as this like little canister just goes right on top of the golem's head, and it gave it a really bad headache as earth just shatters on the head, and the head of the golem's cracks a little bit at where the impact happened. And last time, just for recap wise, I casted Shatter. I don't know how much I did damage unless you want me to do it again.
I actually have all that stuff written, so you're good. And just to reiterate, I didn't make this clear. This is a cool opportunity because you can narrate what you did and keep the effects, or you can narrate something new, like that 90s cartoon we talked about, and do something a little different. Just because it's a different night, you might have a different vibe, and, dude, we're doing this for fun. So it's your call. So, Josh, you did do the damage. I do have that listed,
Right.
and if you want to keep that, it's yours.
Yeah, and so that sound wave just breaks, and the head of it shakes a little bit. And as I skydive down of the dust that this golem is making behind it by all the stompings, I tumble roll into that and stop with my kind of. I don't know how to explain it. It's like, but with my palm of my head on the ground as I just kind of screech to a halt, and I look up all dirty and suited up and start to grab for my rifle.
Okay. So, what are the other two copper jackals that are sailing and whistling through the sky? What are you doing?
Chad, why don't you go for it? Because I believe that you also cast a spell last time, so...
I did, man. Okay, so Teague, when we last left Piper, he was singing as he was careening down to this massive golem, and I cast Thunder Wave. So here's how I'm going to follow that up. So the music sounds, and you hear the big blast from the Thunder Wave, and it blew off the eardrum. So, Tim, here's what I'm going to say I'm going to do. I'm going to reach for one of my throwing hammers, and if I can do this, I would like to use it almost like a carabiner. And as I'm rushing toward it, I want to slam the throwing hammer into it to kind of catch myself, so I'm not falling off the edge of this large shoulder pad. I want to have something that will brace me in case he starts to move and tumble away.
Yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to have you roll for it, but we're going to narrate it first. So,
right. Do
you want me to narrate it, or do you want to narrate it? Because depending on the narration, that's going to be dependent on the role I'm going to ask for.
All right, I think I'll take on the narration.
All right, so you narrate it, and then I'll tell you what kind of role depending on your narration.
All right. So Teague sees the massive shoulder, almost like an aircraft carrier would, and he's looking at it, and he sees that perhaps he can't quite make it into the hole. So he looks around at his lashings as he's coming down, and with almost a parachute pull, he tugs out one of the throwing hammers from his waist and makes sure he has a little bit of rope attached to it, flings it forward, and hopes that it grasps into something taut that he can smash into and hold on to, so that way he doesn't come down and smash into the shoulder.
Perfect. For me,
okay,
this is just a brutal, sheer strength check. There's no athletics involved. You're falling. There's no dexterity involved. We wish there could be, but at the rate you're falling, it's hang on and do the least damage to my dwarven body. So I'm going to give you just a sheer strength check.
You got it, bud. Okay, cool. 18.
Perfect. So as you come down, nothing can prepare you for how ungraceful this is. You're falling through the air, and it's one of those things where you're like, no, I got this, and then, boom, physics reminds you that you are heavier than you probably feel falling through the air. And as your throwing hammer kind of hits, it doesn't just stick in and stay. It hits and bounces and cracks, and it actually hits you in the face a couple of times, probably punctures your shoulder a little bit, maybe even hits you in the gums or the teeth. And then the final resting place is your two arms are grabbing onto this throwing hammer as you sort of grin, a little bit of blood in your teeth because you've made it.
All right. Fantastic. So there I am hanging off the edge. And can I actually get my feet to look into the hole that I made? All right. So I kind of come down from the carabiner and I look into the hole, and what do I see?
I will tell you in one moment. Alekis, what are you doing?
All right. Up above the clouds, as everybody jumps off, Alekis flashes back to when he was on a pirate ship and when he used to dive off the cliffs for pearls when they were on shore leave, and instinctively he puts his arms out to catch the wind and slow his fall, and he sees the entire scene unfold below him as his companions descend. Before he sees Candlewick strike and dissipate into a red mist. He sees the cartridge drop and shatter on the side of this dwarven behemoth automaton, and I imagine that its head smashes a little bit to the side, and then the thunder wave hits the thing, and I imagine that probably there's just a gigantic hole on one side, so he's adjusting the way that he's falling over to the other side. Now, this is a dwarven machine, and I imagine it was fashioned in the ways of the dwarves. I imagine these large horns sticking off of its head. So he's going for the side that doesn't have the hole in it. He's going for the unhit side, and he's got a lasso that he's fashioned. And as he drops by, he's going to drop the lasso over that horn, and he's going to attempt to use that like Legolas style. He's going to rappel down underneath this thing's armpit around its waist, and he's just going to run like literally along the thing around it and attempt. He's going to go straight for the ground though and just try to wrap this thing's legs up like he was going after an AT-AT on Hoth.
I love it. Oh, I love it.
I have the athlete feat, which means that climbing doesn't slow my speed. I don't know if that helps me do it, but
sure. Anything works, man. It's one of those things where anything you can sell me, I love to buy. So let's figure out what you tell me. What is going through Alekis's mind? He's an athlete, clearly. So as an athlete, what are we rolling to make that happen?
Yeah, he's flashing back to when he learned how to dance when he was on shore leave, when he would get good and drunk, and he would go out carousing, and the girls would try to get him up and get him to dance, and he would never do it. He was a little too shy until he had a few drinks in him, and he was ready. So I'm thinking light on his feet. He's basically just dancing around this thing.
I love it. So you roll me, if it's that athletics check, if that's going to be your strongest suit, whatever is going to be highest in that kind of vein, I'll let you roll whatever you want. And I have
I'll take acrobatics if I may.
Absolutely. And I've got a DC in mind of doing that.
All right. Well, I got a 10 on the die, but I have expertise in acrobatics, so that's an 18.
So describe to me how Alekis dances almost as if drunk but in control and executes that move perfectly.
Yeah, so the wind is whistling, howling through his ears, and I imagine that he can hear the song of Teague on the wind too, and his footfalls along this thing's steel body provide the rhythm as he taps around like, imagine a Spanish dancer dancing with castanets as he delicately tiptoes around this thing. Faster and faster, centrifugal force just spinning him into a spiral until he gets around and skids to the ground, and he's gonna pull the rope tight, but he's gonna realize that there's no strength that's gonna do anything against. There's no way he can outstrength this guy, so he's just hoping that the coils are gonna be enough to hinder it.
That's awesome. And so, yeah, everything that you just described happens, and essentially, we're not necessarily in any kind of a initiative order, but for you, your movement can be repelling and pushing off of this thing in any direction you'd like because of where the rope is fastened. So you can kind of get a vantage point and just explain to me how you would kind of bounce or repel, and we'll make that happen in this next little while.
Awesome.
All right, so you guys are basically, you've made first contact, okay? All of this happens in what would probably be a moment. So as Teague hangs on with his hammer, as you see the gambler swinging around on his rope. You see Pebble, who just is coming crashing down and just shatters this odd-looking flask, and you're doing all this damage. But then you sort of feel a shaking. The ground begins to rumble. And things start to shift and move. And if you're looking at this automaton, it literally looks like it starts folding outward, as though it were made of bricks and you couldn't tell. And then it slowly starts to grow and grow and grow. So what was once 2 stories is you see this shifting and this unfolding as these bricks move and as things shift and change. It only holds the slight shape of what was once a dwarven golem. And now it's maybe 6 stories high as it's shifting and changing and moving and unfolding and making itself larger and larger and larger. And I'll tell you what I imagine happening, and you tell me if it's different or if you want to try something else. I imagine that Xander would be on the foot. It basically, I just see the foot growing, and I see Xander, it kind of grows underneath you so that you're kind of looking up, and this thing grows underneath you. So you're on this enormous foot. Alekis, your rope stays true, but it's now intertwined, melded with the rock that is now this face that is 3 times the size. And so you have Teague. And Teague, as you're kind of hanging there and as your feet, there's this hole. But this hole starts to fill, and it's just this shifting. These bricks, these blocks just start to expand and ever move. And Teague, you're a dwarf. So what I want you to do is roll some sort of check, whether it's intelligence, history, basically this stonework, to try to get an idea of what this thing could be.
All right, sounds good. So I am going to roll. Well, pretty much, no matter what I roll, it's going to be +2. So let's do. I'll do a history check, and I'll just do a +2 for that. Ooh, yeah, no. I rolled a 2, so that's not going to be good. Although I do have stone cunning, if that helps at all.
It does help, and I was just going to say that what you can tell from this is that the materials look dwarven, but the structure itself looks otherworldly. So as it's been shifting and moving, this is no dwarven, craft work that you've seen.
Okay. I was gonna say, once that foot's expanding on me after I backtrack from it, seeing that expansion, the ways these blocks, these bricks are forming, can Xander do a Arcana check?
Of course, yeah, absolutely.
Ooh, okay. That is going to be a 19.
Okay. You detect something that feels like magic, but it's older, more mysterious, and you've never experienced anything like it before.
Xander is just a little bit shaken as this foot just expands and what he's going to do, knowing that this feels very odd.
Yeah, it's unsettling, probably. So, as this dwarven automaton has shifted, unfolded, and bricks seem to be just spilling out from its belly and its chest and just stacking up, it is, as I said, what was once about 2 stories is now about 6 stories. So you're on a behemoth. This thing is enormous. What do you do? Because it starts to walk.
But I think first, Tim, is the hole? So the hole is closing up do I have time? I know this is going to be risky. Would I have time to, while it's closing, get myself inside of the thing? Considering that the hole is still open.
You can try.
If I wanted to try to, like, sneak myself inside while it's growing?
Yes, I will say, and because I want to make sure to explain it correctly. It's as though blocks are like forming and clasping and cracking and like kind of shifting and coming out from the inside and folding and rolling outward. So you could do it, but it would be against a stream of bricks coming from the inside. So you'd have to be quick and fight your way past the thing as it's forming. But I'll totally let you try.
You know what? I'm going to go for it. Okay. What do I need to roll for it, though?
So you need to do some sort of acrobatics, some sort of... You're trying to squeeze your little dwarven body into this hole.
So would it be like an athletics check?
I'll go athletics if you can do like the luge where you like grab onto something and try to like torpedo your legs in there or something.
Yeah, okay, cool. So this is how I will narrate it then. So Teague sees the hole closing up, and he knows that any moment it'll seal and he won't be able to fit his body in there. So he takes his like makeshift bagpipes and sort of puts them around his waist in a way to almost slingshot himself inside, using a couple of, using the carabiner he has and everything. He's going to try to shoot himself like a torpedo into the hole before it closes. Okay. Let's see. Oh, buddy. Okay, can I use inspiration?
Yes.
Inspiration for that.
Certainly.
Okay, because I rolled a 4 on that. So let's see. Ooh. Still going to be 13, but better.
Okay.
All right.
So Teague does exactly what you say. There's this fleeting moment, and the way you're describing it to me, it is just this instinctive, like, oh. Like if you've ever seen a door closing and you try to slide through it, and there's no real need to, but
the Indiana Jones slide.
Yeah, exactly what I call it. Hey, I got to Indiana Jones this door real quick.
Yep.
So you're trying to Indiana Jones this collapsing, endless, like swarm of bricks. So what happens is you actually do, and you get your legs inside of it. So you do get your legs like, whew, and then promptly one of them is just pummeled by like 4 or 5 bricks. So one leg is hanging inside whatever this thing is, and the other leg is just pummeled by these bricks. So I need you to give me a D6 worth of damage, bludgeoning, as this thing folds up on your leg and is just... I mean, you could feel the bruises.
Okay, here we go. D6 worth of damage. Oh, okay, 3. I got a 3.
All right. So just make sure to keep track of it.
Okay.
So, all right. So, Xander, what are you doing at this point?
At this point, I think that after being like surprised by, well, not necessarily surprised, but like being, this foot just growing on me, I'm gonna try to push back and then get a good vintage look of what we're dealing with first, and then I'm probably gonna decide what to do. Okay. So just kind of, I know we're describing the thing, but what does Xander see as he like pushes himself away from the foot, just so he can get an idea what he wants to do?
So it's like looking up at a skyscraper.
Oh, jeez.
So essentially, your perspective is skewed because you're so close to this thing. So to you, it almost just kind of triangulates up to the thinnest, smallest point, which is this enormous horned helmet. But the body that was once a dwarven golem or automaton now looks cancerous. It looks malformed and larger. But the symmetry's all wrong. There's really no craftsmanship to this thing. This was a growth out of necessity. So it has the same rough shape, but it's a little more brutish and, if possible, uglier.
I think that Xander, seeing this, is gonna then look back at the legs and see, like, knowing what what my good friend the gambler was trying to do. I am gonna look and see if there's a weak spot within the legs or foot, so I can like get it cracked or something, so it can tumble down.
Sure. So I want you to give me an investigation check. You're actually looking, you're investigating, you're looking through, trying to find some clues or some kind of make sense of this bestial, unnatural thing.
All right, and if I don't have it as a skill, is it just plus my whatever whatever that the intelligence I'm seeing?
Yeah, and if you're higher in perception, I will use that for you. So in other words, like if you're more of the guy that would be like, hey, these things don't line up or this doesn't make sense, more of the wisdom side, you can try to roll that as well. I'll just explain it differently depending on what you roll.
All right. I have the same plus in both checks, so I'm just going to roll it and then decide what I'm going to call it. Okay, that wasn't great, but I'm going to go with saying that I was trying to strategically, like, maybe, yeah, investigate any crack or any little thing that there was in the leg so that I can make that crack bigger so it could fall. But I only got a 10, I'm seeing. Yeah.
Okay. Well, in one way you're in luck. In another way you're a little unlucky. This giant has taken a step. So in addition to everything that's going on, I need you to roll again for me. D20.
Same thing.
So you slide down, and you're holding on to essentially what would be the sole of this thing's boot, and you're hanging on to some cracks that seem to be just shifting ever so gently. And so as your fingers grip this, you kind of see it's almost playing at your fingernails. It's almost testing you. It's almost seeing if it can get in there. But the good news is you notice something that would almost look like a door sort of on the side of the foot. So it's this odd shape, but it's really, it looks like it's a door because there's a knob or a handle of some sort, and this is definitely an odd-looking door, but you only found it because you fell a little bit.
Is it like beyond my movement to try to open that door?
It is beyond your movement to try to open the door, but maybe if you had some help. Or
okay. All right. Seeing that I can't really do anything else besides investigating, and I don't really want to shoot it since I saw this door, I'm gonna wait until my next turn to go open that door and investigate what's going in there.
Perfect. Alekis, what is happening with you, man?
Yeah, so I'm not sure where the gambler ended up. If he actually ended up on the ground or on the foot of this thing or the other foot of this thing, like while everything was going on. Where do you think I would be, Tim?
To me, I think, especially with that high roll, as that was occurring, and with your skill set and being in the zone and that dancing, if any of us have ever found the courage to stand up and dance when we know we shouldn't, there's a certain liberty that comes with it, and in that moment, it's almost like you can find purchase anywhere. So, to me, I think you can end up where you wanted to end up because you were flowing, you were feeling it, you were dancing, you were moving. So, this thing growing was just your partner changing steps, and you change steps right along. So, you tell me, wherever you want to be, you can be, man.
All right, I'm going to imagine that he was aiming for the ground, but this transmogrification happened while he was still on the thing. So I'm going to say he ended up on the thing's other foot, standing on the thing's other foot. And he pauses for a second and realizes that he's part of a team and tries to get his bearing, tries to figure out where everyone else wound up. Can I see Teague up on top? Or it's way up high, right?
It is way up high. You can see Teague on top, and you can see Xander on the bottom, sort of hanging, like, sort of, if this thing steps wrong, you're going to have some gnome paste.
Oh, crap. All right, well, that's all I need. Yeah, so Alekis is gonna, I imagine, dive roll off of this thing's foot. I'll use my bonus action to dash over to the other foot, and I'm gonna grab Pebble, I think probably by his belt, as I try to jump back up onto the foot to scoop him back up so that he doesn't get smushed.
That's perfect. All right. So describe to me what this all looks like.
Yeah, so I imagine like probably another block is coming and forming over him as he sees Teague. It's coming down on him. He looks over and he sees Pebble, and he tucks into a tight little parkour roll and dashes across 1 foot on the sole of this thing's foot, which is probably about waist high for him. As he pushes up onto the thing's foot, his right hand comes down, scoops up Pebble. And I imagine he probably lands a little bit overcompensated because Pebble doesn't weigh as much as a full-size person would. So I imagine he kind of like slides on his ass over towards the thing's ankle, and he says, "Hey, is fancy meeting you here."
That's perfect. No roll necessary. You're a copper jackal, and that was a beautiful description.
Cool.
So, Teague, I'm not sure how much of this you notice below, but basically what preoccupies you at the moment is this. The wall has basically closed around your leg. Now, it's not crushing it, it's just like you were a nice little root and it happened to grow around it. But there's still a slight crack. Sort of some jagged places between ill-placed bricks. And something odd begins to happen. You see in that crack, it's almost as though the bricks themselves start to... Have you ever, like, gotten hit? And it's not, like, dripping blood, but it's these little dots of blood that kind of are just kind of breaking through the skin, almost like, finding the pores. This dark, rich-smelling blood starts to kind of come through the pores just a little bit. And then you see what you could swear is just sort of a fist trying to make its way out of the wall, and then it kind of sinks in. And then you see things kind of shift a little bit. And then you actually... you see this fist sort of swing at your face, coming right out as though it was made of stone, as though it just kind of... And it tries to swing at you, and it hits your chest, but it's too far away to do any damage. It just kind of like...
Taps it a little bit?
Taps it a little bit, and then you see sort of a face, this older, kind of grayish, dwarven face. And what do you do?
For a minute, Teague is taken aback because he doesn't know whether or not it's actually all the fighting or whatever it is, or if it's old memories. And he has a moment where he remembers times on the battlefield, and it almost seems as though that face that comes from the stone reminds him of some of his fallen brethren. And he's trying to get a bearing on whether or not he's seen that face before. And he almost doesn't want to hit the stone, considering the fact that he now sees that. So he kind of gets scared, and he's brought back into the, oh crap, this might actually be something worse than I'm thinking. I would like to roll a history check, though, to see if I recognize the face.
Absolutely, and I will give you advantage.
Okay. So, well, that's going to be a 19.
So you don't recognize this as a person so much as you can recognize the sunken eyes and the features that almost look smashed and sort of degraded.
Okay.
This is the spectral sort of stone face coming out of the stone of a Duergar, or a dark dwarf.
Okay. Well then, if I recognize that, then I'm gonna take a moment then, and you said it was like almost a like a blood consistency or something.
So imagine, So imagine that it's becoming solid and malleable, like a clay face sort of thing. But
Okay.
it's as though it was sweating, but it's not sweating a water or anything like that. It's almost like there's just this fine, slick sheen, and it's almost as though it's blood. And so imagine this Duergar face is, and I don't want to over-explain it and ruin anybody's imagination of it, but it's essentially the same color as the stone, and it has the features, but it's remaining stone and becoming malleable and hard.
So like a mixture between the rock, like the actual brick, and then like red mortar.
Exactly. It's like, and just in this spot where you see it sort of coming to life, it's exactly what it's like. And in fact, with such a high roll, you would also then make the leap back to what you couldn't figure out previously, which is this is clearly some sort of Duergar construction, but you still can't place it.
All right. I would like to try, if I can, for actual physical action. Can I try to remove my foot?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I would like to try and use. Let's see. What do I have available? I know I have. I know I got a set of throwing hammers, so I'm going to take another one of the throwing hammers out, and I'm going to use it, and hopefully not smash my foot. To try to break open that spot and yank my foot out.
Okay. So we're going to do something a little differently here. Since you're trying to hit something and they're very close in proximity, we're going to do, it's basically you're going to I have an AC in mind of what hits the stone, and anything less than that hits the Teague.
All right. We'll go with that. Here we go. Let's see. 15? 15.
So, how far do you pull back? Like all the way? Like all your strength?
I want to say about halfway. I'm gonna pull about halfway because I feel like he knows that if he goes too hard, he's gonna break his foot off in this hole. He's just trying to get it to where he can unwedge himself because he realizes, okay, that plan didn't work, but I want to be stable for when I have an opportunity to like bust this thing open again.
Sure. Have you ever held a nail between your finger and thumb?
Yes.
And then have you ever tried to strike it from further away than maybe 5 or 6 inches?
Yes.
All right. Well, you're crazy because I would never do that. But essentially, that's what Teague is doing as well. And in that same sort of, just you're thinking, oh, here we go, and you pull it back, and unfortunately for the Duergar, you hit the stone.
Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah.
So I will say that you are now able to get your foot out of there, but as you do so, you notice that there's an odd red light coming from within it that wasn't there when you first landed and first saw these holes and so on.
All right. So I pull my foot out, and then does the hole seal up completely then once I pull my foot out?
Let me see. Okay. The hole begins to close, but you have a moment.
I have a moment. Let's see. I do have... Now, we have all our spells back from the last time, right? Yes?
I'll say yes, except for whatever you used dropping.
Except for Thunderwave, because
so that you just used, but everything else, yes.
All right. Here's something interesting that I want to try and do. I don't know how you're going to play with it, but I would like, kind of like how a doctor would use UV light to see inside when you do like gastrointestinal scans and all that kind of stuff?
So yes, so I'm going to tell you right now, this is the most out there pitch I've ever had as a DM, and I'm really excited to hear where this goes.
Just hear me out, because I've had this done. So,
okay. So as a doctor uses UV light.
All right. So there's a procedure that they used to do when I was a kid, that if you had to do gastrointestinal,
They would use bleaches.
You use bleaches, and then they use the radiology scans to like be able to see what's inside. So I would like to use the bardic spell Dancing Lights, which can cast 4 different lanterns or whatever I choose, 4 different orbs of light within a 60-foot radius, and they can go wherever as long as they're within 60 feet of me. I would like to try to cast those 4 orbs inside the body so that I can see them from the outside of the stone and kind of get a whereabouts of where things may be inside it. Kind of like trying to do X-ray vision of what's inside of this automaton.
So I think that Teague would try it no matter what. So I'm going to say
he doesn't
yes.
care. Like it fail or not.
The second thing is, for future reference, I would just use the old flashlight in your mouth kind of analogy.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's what you're going for, right?
Pretty much. It was like,
But
yeah.
I love the idea. You're basically casting light inside of it, and like you said, it's kind of the light inside will show what is basically translucent and what's opaque.
Exactly.
So, yes, and while you're doing that, so as you're kind of mustering that up, I want to know what Xander is doing down there on the foot with Alekis.
After he was pulled off, like, dust kind of sprigs up, and he kind of goes, and as Gambler, as Alekis says, nice seeing you here, Xander goes, you can say that again. What's that door? As he gets his weapon and uses the gun as a cane or something, and pulls himself up and just dashes a little bit to the door and pulls the door open. What does he see? Oh, you're muted, by the way. Yeah.
Roll a perception check, because you're saying you're going and you're reaching for the door. So before you do that, I want you to roll a perception check. Alekis, I want you to do the same.
All right.
Oh, that was bad. It is a 5 for me.
I got a modified 20.
Okay. Alekis, you notice an almost imperceptible shape hovering in front of the door in the shape of an odd 3-dimensional ruin. And it appears as a soft blur, as if the air itself is warm and bleeding ever so slightly on a micro level. So this does not look good to you. You could clearly tell that this is the kind of thing that's probably the trigger for a trap.
Hang on, Pebble. Stop her.
He Pebble's going, and then right when he hears stop, he gets in the middle of this and he stops right before he gets to where this is. And does he feel this aura around him?
100%. Oh man, it's like if a Duergar breathed in your open mouth and a little spit got in there.
Ugh.
So it's just this heat, this stench, this gingivitis from days of yore.
And he just kind of, as he feels that, he's like, ugh, and he kind of backs away with his gun in tow, kind of just then looking around on his side, and then kind of points at the door just to see if anything comes out of it. And he's like, "Well, what do you think this is?"
Yeah, the gambler crouches down next to you, and he leans in. I have heard of things like this. Magical trapsmiths devise insidious traps. They will kill you, or worse. I do not know anything about Magic. What do you know about this disturbance?
I'm guessing I'm going to make an Arcana check here.
Go for it.
Okay, it's a little bit better. That is a 13.
All right, so what you can tell is that you don't know exactly which pieces and parts, but you can tell that this is a trap that has magical portions, but it's linked. Somehow you can kind of sense that it's linked to a mechanical portion as well. But that's all you know. You're not sure exactly what pieces and parts and where, but there are a couple of iterations of this mechanism.
And then I would just go to like the gambler and say, well, in that case, with all this booby traps things that I'm sensing, we should probably head for another entrance. As he looks up and just observes the whatchamacallit. Yeah, Golem.
The gambler is listening to your words, but he's still his eyes are squinted, and he's still looking. He's heard of traps like this, but he hasn't studied any magic. So I don't really know, Tim, what I would, if you'd want like another perception check to try to see if I could see any kind of mechanical triggers. You say that it's like, sort of like a wispy form in front of the door, right?
Correct. So
I guess I'm looking to see if there's any like tendrils that are like ethereal tendrils that are going to any spots on the thing.
And you can, and so here's the thing. You might not know magic, but you know mechanics. You know traps. You've seen on shore leave, you've seen the most rudimentary sort of mousetrap, all the way up to entire rooms that magnetize and pull adventures down onto spikes. So to me, the thing that you would notice is, and then for me to tell you this, I do want you to roll, and you can roll perception or investigation, and it'll be the level of detail at which I give you of how the mechanics relate to the arcanics.
Sure. And yeah, the gambler is looking more on an intuitive level. I'll use perception. Oh. That's an 8.
Okay. All right. So what you can tell is that there looks like what is essentially a gem set inside almost these metal pieces that look as though they're like skeletal fingers. Okay? You can tell that that is probably the dangerous part of the trap. So there are a couple of different ways that this can go down, but the way you're thinking, it's probably going to be a sleight of hand with your thieves' tools to try to basically loosen those fingers and get that gem out of there without it going off and without touching that hazy sort of misty trigger.
Absolutely. So yeah, as he's you see him pull out what looks like just a little very, very worn leather folding case, and he opens it up, and you see just like some rusty old, what looks like rusty old dentist tools in there. And he's gonna lean over to Pebble and let him know what he saw. This I think you let me know because I know you're an educated man. But I think if we get the gem away from the fingers, it will disarm the trap. Does that make sense to you?
It's good enough. Let's just hope if we try this thing, whatever is guarding this door is not nasty enough to bite us both.
Okay, cover me. So yeah, I imagine grabbing like a flagstone. I imagine he sort of like hangs himself sideways over the ankle, and just he's got a pair of like what look like calipers, and just gingerly inserts his hand through, trying to avoid the little magical energies that he can see. And basically, he's got what looks like a pair of scissors, but it's tweezers, and he's just gonna try to grab that gem as gingerly and lightly as he can and remove it, like he's playing an old school game of Operation.
So
Okay.
before you tell me what your role is, the foot starts to move again. Another step. It's taking another step. So,
Shit.
give me some sort of strength or dexterity check. Anything. You have to hold on to this. You're hanging off the side. You're hanging off the side. Save yourself.
Yeah, okay, so just instinctively, it seems counterintuitive, but he's spent so many years hanging on the riggings that he flips himself upside down and hooks his ankle over a bar that's sticking out, and he's going to try to hang upside down, like with basically the elbow of his knee. He's going to try to grab onto it acrobatic style. It's a 5 on the die, but it's +8, so that's a 13.
13. Oh, man. Oh. Let's see.
He's going down.
So here's what happens. Okay, no, you barely hang on, but it's only because you know how riggings and sails work. So you just imagine yourself as sort of this sail. You're like kind of like, ebbing and flowing back and forth, but you do take a d6 damage as, you basically kind of hit your chin, maybe like scrape it on the foot or something as you're kind of trying to steady yourself right before you get your tweezers to the gem.
All right. Oh, that's 6 points of damage. Okay.
Of course you roll a 6 now, right?
This is gonna be 6. Okay, yeah. So I imagine Alekis, during our induction ceremony, he was so conscientious to not pass out and hit his head, and this time he just slams his head into a flagstone. And I imagine he's seeing some stars, like the little dancy lights on the sides of his vision, and he's upside down, listing side to side. Fortunately, he's got sea legs, and he realizes that his hand is still in this precarious position, and just quick like a viper, he's going to try to grab it and pull it out. It's an 8 + 6, which is a 14.
So, your tweezers, in the midst of all that, they're scraping, and they're jittering, and they're trying to find purchase on the gem. And they do. And you got it. You got it. Operation. But then something just grazes right on the side. And so I'm going to give you advantage on the save, as this is what happens. Essentially, the gem itself explodes. And so the glyph as well that was hanging there is sort of a reagent that acts to spread the effect of the gem. So it doesn't explode in fire, it explodes in a mist. So I'm going to give you, and you, Xander, I'm going to give you advantage on this check. You need to make a dexterity check.
All right, let's do it.
Dice. Come on, dice. Come on, dice. Yes! Thank God. Hold on. That should be a 22 for me.
Okay.
On one die, I got a 6. On the other die, I got a natural 20.
So with that natural 20, and Xander, I want you to go after him. Describe to me how you literally dodge exploding mist, which seems nigh impossible.
Yeah, I imagine that he's got the gem, and right at the end it like clink and falls, and he knows that it's going to happen. So he's hanging upside down. I imagine that he just swings one way and then completely swings and lifts himself up. So he's crouched on top of the bar that was right above as the mist comes shooting out, like just right underneath his feet. Oh, you're muted, brother.
Josh, sorry, I said that's amazing. Sorry. And when I went to hit unmute, I accidentally hit invite people, like
Oh
a
Lord.
So Josh, what do you do? As you see Alekis more or less defy physics, what do you do to dodge this mist?
All right, so I'm guessing. So does the mist hit right when he hits the ground again, or it's like mid-air kind of thing?
So it's sort of like that midair, like.
Right, and like when it's about to step, and he goes, he does defy the physics through the acrobatic trick, and this mist just goes, and it goes straight towards Xander. Xander's just going to fall basically with his legs forward, and I don't know if you've ever done this for a dance move or like in cha-cha slide or whatever, but you put your legs forward and then you put your self back, kind of like Matrix move kind of thing, and it just goes slowly as he's just like staring at it like, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap.
Perfect. And so what ends up happening is the tweezers that you were holding, Alekis, you thought that they were old and rusted before, but you notice that the mist that hits them immediately turns them entirely to rust, and they disintegrate into nothing. Essentially, you recognize this, and you've probably heard stories of these kinds of traps. It's a creature essence trap, which more or less you just got shot with rust monster, more or less. So you were able to dodge that, but that would have been one messy situation if you would have got blasted with rust monster.
Now let me ask you a question. With when Candlewick was disintegrated, did it look like a similar effect when because she struck the thing? Oh no, it was a gigantic maw or something.
It was like some sort of black, dark, bleak like maw that kind of just like what? So that was almost otherworldly, probably separate from what was happening here.
Gotcha. Cool. Sounds good.
Yeah. So.
Well.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm going to turn to Pebble and say, well, I disarmed the trap. I think it's safe to go in.
Sanders on his back, and it's like, if I can get up first, as this like mist just is like above him, and as he's trying to scoot his body away from the mist on the side, very awkwardly.
Is Xander calling one of the?
Yeah, definitely. Got it. Well, let's go. And blowing the wind away as he's trying to get a position to where he can get up and get back to the door.
So, Teague, this amorphous stone punches you in the face. So as you're trying to cast your lights, I want you to describe how this happens. But it's like just these random Duergar sort of almost limbs are trying to stop you from doing this. So describe what you do.
All right. Well, he stops for a minute as he starts to, he's singing to himself. He hasn't even said any words, but he just starts singing to himself. But as he does so, his eyes get big because he starts to see the fists form again. And in that moment, as he sees the fist form, he is drawn back to his inauguration ceremony as an arm of the Savior, where he battled in the waiting pits and the big brutes that he had to take on, and he's all of a sudden brought on with this fight or flight stance, and he starts. If it could be in slow motion, he starts to see the fists, and he tries to just dodge them left and right, and you can see him just launching these little orbs of light towards the hole as he's just dodging back and forth and punching the stone himself. He doesn't even care at this point, just punching the stone back and forth as he's trying to get these orbs inside that hole so he can see what is going on within the entire structure.
Okay. So I'm not familiar with how that spell works. Do you need to roll for it? Is it automatic?
So no, it is. So here's what it says in the book. I will bring the book up. It says that Dancing Lights has a range of 120 feet, that it is casting time is just the one action. I don't have to do anything else for that.
Cool.
It's a concentrate. It requires concentration, but up to 1 minute, and that I can create 4 torch-sized lights within range, and that I can combine the 4 lights into one glowing, vaguely humanoid form of medium size if I chose to. So
Okay.
I can do that later on, and they can move from each other up to 60 feet, but they must be within 20 feet of each of another to stay lit.
I see what you're saying. So they need each other to stay energized, and if they float too far apart, they go out.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So the lights themselves do find a way through these, fists, and I'm imagining just that kind of like, and they're kind of finding their way through, almost like these dwarven barred will-o-wisps.
Yeah.
What color are they, by the way?
I'm gonna imagine that that they're almost like this incandescent purple, where it's like this beautiful, like almost jellyfish-like purple, where it's light enough to where you just barely see that light, and it floats through, wisping back and forth. And I think he's going to actually sing the following. Because at the bottom he says, 2 coppers for redemption, 2 coppers take your sin. The jackals take the broken from menace down to grin. 2 coppers, leave your life behind, 2 coppers for your soul. And when you feel you're almost dead, you rise up a hero. And as he does that, he's fighting all of these things off and launching these balls and orbs through the hole. And then so to the others, depending on where you feel the need to place them, Tim, they're going to start seeing this vaguely purplish light sort of emanating through the brick, I suppose.
Precisely. And so it unfortunately doesn't have the exact effect that you're looking for, where it's so bright that it shines through the stone. This is probably pretty thick, and
yeah.
But you can see, especially in the darkness, as this thing has stepped further and further away from the bleak and kind of gotten into a weirdly serene night, as it's walking along and just along the base of the Sphere Mountains, there is this light coming from the areas that aren't just packed together with, like I said, that cancerous, malformed shape. So light kind of spews in all different directions. In fact, Alekis and Xander, you would see sort of this purple light kind of come from under the door a little bit. And the purple mixes with the red light inside, making an almost magenta, this rich maroon red. From a bright red and a purple, it's just blending together, making this sort of glowing maroon. So are you looking inside to try to see what you see?
Yeah, I think the last thing that I would do is try to see what I can see before the whole, before everything closes up. See what I can kind of get from just outside source,
Perfect. So what you see, just these odd silhouetted objects of all shapes and sizes, and occasionally they'll glint and gleam, and you can't catch exactly what they are. Roll me a perception check.
Okay. Perception. Please say I have a high perception. Because that was not... Okay. So I take the... Oh. So perception skill, not my passive perception.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, because my passive perception's higher than the roll. I rolled a 5. So.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, in this case, it's probably the reason why I had you roll is because there's a lot going on. It's not just, oh, hey, look, lights. It's like, okay, let me focus here.
Right.
5 total?
5 total though, because he doesn't get anything from his wisdom.
Yeah, so you can clearly see it's just these shapes, these objects, and they sort of seem to be coming from different directions, passing across the beams and the sphere of light that you've created. But there's also, from where you can tell, a reddish light from down below, and you just see all different shapes and sizes, just kind of moving and thrashing about on the inside.
All right. So I would like to do. Can I look to see where Alekis and Xander are from my position, so that I can maybe move the next session, the next part, to try to get either closer to them or figure out what I'm going to do.
Yeah. So is Teague afraid of heights? You said you're not up above ground much.
I would say that Teague might be a little bit afraid of heights.
Okay. So you might want to hold on to something for me there.
I think that he would. He'd just grab a hold of the carabiner hammer that he had, and then try to rappel himself down a little bit, maybe.
Sure. And I would say as mannishly as possible.
Okay. Without like.
You kind of have. Well, I'm just thinking. You kind of have a moment, just a quick moment, but it's like. All right. So you're not afraid, you're just definitely not happy, right?
Yeah.
But you can see the two of them playing at the door. And actually, that's what happens. Alekis, Xander, you see this faint red light now that you've been able to dodge that mist and sort of gather yourself. There was a faint red light that started to grow and kind of glow, but now there's a purplish light sort of coming from the bottom of the door and the sides, just glowing.
Yeah, I imagine that there's that moment after like the explosion, the super close call, and I imagine we're taking it all in, and I imagine just hearing Teague's song float on the wind as I look up and see the purple glow start to happen, and I imagine he starts to look down, starts climbing down as we look up, and the gambler will call up to him. He'll use his outdoor voice, but I won't because I can't yell right now. He'll be like, "We've signed the door!" Because I imagine it's still like loud and wind's blowing and chaos. Stone is crunching on stone. But I don't know. I'll try to see if I don't really know how I could help him climb down. I guess I'll just wait for him. You know what I'm going to do is try to position myself where if he falls, I can help break his fall. That's what I'm going to do.
All right, that's perfect. As Xander, what are you doing during all this?
Xander, tucking and rolling away from that mist, gathers himself with, perching his gun on the floor or the ground so that he can get up. Sees this like purple, haze coming from the door, and he kind of just like twerks his head a little bit at it. And is there any way I can roll for a gut feeling check to see if I should open this door or not?
A gut feeling check. Is that 6th edition?
I don't know.
We're opening that door, man. We gotta open it.
I feel like.
Let me tell you that this has been the best game for rolls. Like, you guys are selling it. I love it. To me, that would be wisdom.
Wisdom, yeah.
Yeah, which I'm just totally giving you a hard time, but I think because that was awesome. But I will give you a wisdom check. In fact, what I would like you to do is I would like you to roll a wisdom check, and you can include any sort of bonuses for perception, but you can also use your intelligence as well in this.
Okay.
So whatever's higher, not both together. Sorry, I wanted to be clear.
Okay. Oh, they're about the same. So I'm just gonna roll it, and yeah, okay, that's a 5.
So yeah, it's not the best idea, but what harm could it do?
And I just kind, yeah, I kind of go, like kind of go up to it and just like with my gun like close to me, I just open the door and like I kind of go behind the door, hopefully that nothing blast out of it, not looking into it, just hopefully nothing happens, kind of thing, because I'm not too sure.
Sure. No, sure. So you see a Tarrasque. No, I'm kidding. You essentially, when you open the door, the red light is softer than it seemed glowing in the night. So it's a soft red light inside, and you also see 4 or 5 glowing orbs kind of floating around that are creating purple light, kind of scouring and looking around. Now, inside of this is difficult to describe, and it's difficult to understand. It's as though the laws of physics have been cheated on and punched in the face. Okay? So what should be up is sort of up. What should be left is pretty much left. The staircases, the doorways inside, there are iron bars, things that just, they're not where they should be, but somehow it looks right, like it's coming together to make something beautiful in a way. And so you notice that as you're standing there, you can see these various objects coming from all different directions, coming from different parts of the arm and from what would be the feet and the legs, and just... And one of them... What's your armor class again? Xander?
Armor class is 15.
All right, so one of them barely hits your shoulder, and it gets stuck. It gets stuck right on your shoulder there. And it kind of, once it hits you, it stops. And you kind of look down as it hits your hand, and it's a ring. Just a silver-looking ring. It's very odd.
After seeing a ring, I just kind of observed it for a second, and as I walk, like after I walked in, and I kind of, do I see more of these orbs coming by?
So just for clarity, the orbs are Teague's lights. He casts a spell on the inside, and then there is a from what you can see, when you look inside, you're on a lower level, and there is what would be an upper level that you'd have to ascend this odd, like, strange architecture to try to get up to. But there's an opening, maybe 15 or 20 feet up, almost in the center of what would be the ceiling to you, as though there's another level, and you can see that there's sort of a craggy, spiraling staircase that leads up to it, and that's where the red light is coming from. So the entire bottom floor where the feet are in this golem are bathed in red light, and that red light is coming from one floor above you, but the architecture is wonky, man. And that ring just fell into your hand.
So, what does the ring look like? It's like, you said a silver ring?
It is literally a very inornate, plain silver ring.
I have bad feelings about putting it on, so I'm just gonna kind of look up to where it came from, assuming like it kind of like as the structure is moving, it fell down and hit me, and I'm just like, let's take a gamble to see what it comes, where this takes me, and I start with my gun perched. I get like maybe let me look at my spells real fast. I get a kind of these 3 kind of like white aura shots, musket balls, and just kind of plop them in the barrel, like into the barrel of my gun, and then like click something to lock it in place, and then kind of go up and having the ring in my hand on my gun, and kind of just gun at shoulder. Hopefully nothing's coming up here, coming down when I go up.
So what you're saying is you start to go into the room and try to descend or ascend that spiral staircase.
Yeah.
Okay, so as you do that, I'm going to take it back to Alekis. Alekis, as you see this going on, you see him open the door, you see him walk in. What is Alekis doing during all this?
How far is Piper? How long is it going to take Piper to get down to us?
It depends how he does it. So he could jump, trying to slide down. He could try to bust on the inside and come from the top. I mean, it depends, but not too long, as long as his fear of heights doesn't get in the way.
All right. Well, the gambler thinks that the odds are more against Piper than they are against Pebble. So I think what he's going to do is, as this giant monstrosity is walking, he's going to try to time it so that, because the rope is still all intertwined, obviously it's not going to trip this thing up, but he's going to sort of like try to pull it out of one of the crevices that it was in as it's taking a step, and he's going to try to like pull it over to where Piper is and spot him on the bottom and allow him. I'll try to aid him in climbing down with the rope. That's
great. So, Teague, basically what you'll do is you'll have advantage, and so you can come down to where they are at this point. That's your call.
I'm muted. Okay. I think that at that point, as I see the other rope sort of swing over to the other side, he sees it, and he's gonna actually try to do like almost a dual, like holding on to both ropes, so he can kind of just slide down gracefully. Rather than just like holding himself on, he's going to hold on until the end of the carabiner can't hold anymore for that one, and then use the rest of the rope the other way to come down the other side. So he eventually realizes he doesn't have any more slack on one rope. He's going to let go of that and then grab onto the other one and come the rest of the way down, kind of kicking off as he does so with his feet against the brick, hopefully not having any of the brick kind of shift and move under him enough to like disturb his footfalls.
Sure. So I'm going to give it to you at advantage, but I'm going to need 2 rolls. Because the first one is going to be moving from one rope to the other.
Okay.
That's an acrobatics check. That ain't. Well, I mean, you could if you can convince me an athletic way that you're doing it.
I'll give it to you.
That's an acrobatics. Then the second leg is going to be that athletics check to get down to the bottom safely. So I'll need, and both of those can be at advantage.
Okay.
Because he's helping you in guiding the rope. I mean, it's going to be way easier.
All right. So let's see. Thank goodness for advantage. The athletics or the acrobatics check is 6. This big burly dwarf has 0 acrobatics ability, and as far as the athletics check goes, oh goodness gracious, that one's better. That's 14.
Okay. So as Teague goes to reach for this other rope, even though it's being guided by Alekis, the gambler, you see that he is certainly taking, definitely gambling on you. So he slides this rope over, and you have it. You don't have it. And you sort of miss it, but you've committed because you thought you had it. So what happens is you begin to fall, and you're in free fall, and I want you to roll a d4.
Okay, d4. Let me grab that there. Okay, d4. 1.
Ha! All right. So you take 1 damage as the rope tangles around your foot, and you kind of, boom, you get jerked just for a second, but then it pops free, and you're able to kind of grab the other rope. Roll the d4 again.
Okay. That one's a 4.
4. Boom. Your back just smashes into the side of this golem as some bricks come pushing out of the side, shifting, and so you just, boom, right at the wrong time. One of them probably hits you right in the back of the head, so you take that damage, but now you're slowly kind of, okay, all right, the worst of this is over.
So, Tim, I will tell you how this looks.
Please do.
You see him get hit in the back, and it's almost the biggest shot he's ever taken. He hasn't felt being hit like that in years. The last guy that hit him that hard in the kidneys put him over on his back and slammed him against his bagpipes. So it's almost like the last time he's felt that bad. And Alekis from below can actually see where he spits up blood, like where it hit him so hard in the kidneys that it's like he's spitting up blood, and he's just like, oh God, and I want to say I'm within. Am I within range now, like of getting near the door? Right?
Yeah, I'd say you slide down. That was That was a fast enough fall where you probably hit the ground.
As he hits the ground, like I hit the ground on my knees, and it's just I cough, and there's just blood on his letters. It's just like, did you find a way in?
Yeah, we found a way in. Yeah, as you look up, you see Alekis' outstretched hand to help you up to your feet.
Okay.
And as he lifts you up, he says, you know, you get off easy. I seen it fall like that, take a man's head off with the rigging.
I don't intend to have my head taken off today, but I sure as hell feel like I got the wind bloody near knocked out of my sails. Oh, Jesus. And he, like, struggles to get it up at this point. I'm down to 2 hit points, kids. For those at home.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I imagine that you're warbling a little bit, and so Alekis will grab you by the elbow, and as he lifts you up, he sees the tentacles on the tattoo. He hasn't had a good look at them, but I remember that you have, like, a big kraken tattoo.
Yep. The big kraken, which is like the arm of the savior symbol, which just kind of like goes up the side of his arm, yeah. So it's just a bunch of like purple tentacles that just kind of cascade up the side of his arm.
And Alekis will look at you just with an inscrutable look on his face, and he'll say, you know, at sea, we play a game of cards. It have one card, the Kraken. If you pull that card, it means either you take everything or you lose everything.
Well then, let's hope it means we take stuff today. And then at that moment, Tim, do I have an opportunity to actually take a potion when I have a chance to, like, get bearings?
We're not in initiative. Yeah, you could fumble around in there, spitting blood, maybe losing a tip from the molar section.
I think he's gonna like take a moment to gather himself as he's being held by Alekis and just like pull from his pocket that healing potion and like rip it with his teeth, and like maybe one of the teeth comes out as he's yanking this cork, and he just downs it. He's just like, all right, well then I suppose I should be good.
Sweet. So these are some big old copper jackal healing potions, and there's a little bit of
all right, kick back.
Some of Grandpa's old firewater in there. So it's 2d8 plus your Constitution modifier is what I'll give you. 2D8. But I will warn you, you probably don't want to take many more than one of these because it might be the law of diminishing returns.
All right, so well, it would just make me go up to max then, right? Because I have.
Yeah, whatever. Yep, that's well, you roll 2d8 and then add your con. So if that's what it would be, then that's what it would be.
Well, because 2d8. Well, I'll roll 2d8 and see what we get.
Yeah, you don't take max. You roll the 2d8 and then add your Constitution.
6, 8. Yeah, no, I'd be up at max already with that. So 2d8 would get me back to 11 already. Without the Constitution modifier, so we're good. So he kind of pulls himself together and pats Alekis on the shoulder. He's like, "I'm good to go now. We're fine. What'd you find?"
It's a good question. Oh shit, Pebble. And I imagine we head for the door where Pebble is.
All right, so Pebble, what you'll notice is that in the red and purple light, almost as though there are compartments all around this entire place. It's like things are opening and closing, and things are just bending and wrenching, and you hear, almost like someone crunching iron, like, and just things like just grinding stone and things like that. And you notice that these things, maybe a dagger, comes flying out of what seems like the walls, and then goes up the staircase. And then smaller object, maybe what looks just like an old tattered rug, kind of just rolls itself up in midair and goes up the chute. So you're noticing just these mundane objects sort of flying through the air, but you're also going to notice that little pieces of brick, little pieces of the building itself are just... And so, Xander, as though these projectiles are just ignoring you and trying to get up the hole as well, 3 of them come flying at you. 2 of them hit. For a total of 8 damage.
Alrighty, let me record that. Let's see. Do I get to choose what hit me, or is it just...
Meaning what?
Like, is it what hit me exactly?
So
besides
it's
just
in the dark, but it seems just like lumps of this stone acting as shrapnel, kind of being sucked up this tube as well. So just pieces, just random pieces, not necessarily any of the mundane objects, but just chunks of this earth.
So, how far am I, like, up the stairs?
How far up do you want to be?
Let's see. Let's say I was going up and starting to see, and maybe we're out, maybe a little bit more than halfway. These items just like fling at me, and I'm just like, like maybe these just random items, maybe a cup, like a goblet, and a like necklace just fling at me and hit me on my side and knock me back for a second. And I kind of look down, seeing how close the bottom of the door is going up. And is there any way for me to get some like cover away from this stuff, or am I just a complete open target?
You're a complete open target.
Oh God. I'm basically going to think it's kind of a bad idea to like continue going up these stairs, and I'm gonna kind of like roll down and a tumble roll down back to the floor level just to get back to my guys.
Okay, so you're gonna just tumble down. Now,
yeah.
all of you guys as well. These things are continuing to fly. So now, basically consider that the walls are shooting projectiles at you involuntarily. They're not trying to hit you, but some of them are. Okay? So let's see. Alekis, what is your armor?
I have a 16 AC.
16 AC. Okay, so 2 of these are going to hit you for... Okay, so what happens is you're kind of standing there, and then just boom, one pelts you in the shoulder, and I imagine you kind of just like jerk back. Where does the second one hit you?
I imagine it hits him right in the stomach. It hits him in the shoulder. He instinctively goes to guard his face, and one just poof, right in his gut.
Perfect. So it hits you in the gut, and you notice that it's like it almost leaves a stone residue on you, just like, and it just feels off. Something's wrong. It just feels gross. But Teague, you barely escape a couple, and I'll even let you catch one. So just like,
awesome. Okay, so they're coming at him, and he just they're just assaulting him, and he grabs one of them, and then what does he see when he grabs it at it?
a lump of gray clay that
Okay.
essentially turns into hard rock in his hands.
Okay. So it's just a bunch of clay flying at him. Can I roll a history check, maybe, to see if I recognize the substance? Okay. So I'm going to roll a history check real quick for that. See if I recognize anything. That's going to be a 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
You've heard of this, so it's a pretty easy leap to say this is Darkstone.
Okay, Darkstone.
This is the work of, I mean, that's a colloquial term. Basically, this is stone from somewhere deep, man. This is Duergar stuff. This isn't your common hill dwarves, mountain dwarves, even, you know, some of the aquatic dwarves, you know, on the inner side. This is more old, archaic. People don't mess with this stuff. You got to go deep to find this stuff. So it's exactly as you've read. It's exactly what you'd think it would look like, but you know it's probably very old, and you have no idea where it came from.
Okay. And the whole structure is basically being made by that stuff?
Yeah, from what you can tell, it's just varying degrees of this moving stone. Some more worked than others, but there's other pieces in there too. Something straight, like maybe some crushed wood or some bent iron, things like that.
Wait, let's take a look then. I have an idea. They keep flinging at me, and I think at that point, Teague is going to try and follow Pebble up, trying to get out of the way of all the debris that is coming at him and everything. And as it hardens back into stone, I'm going to actually, as I walk up toward it, I'm going to fling the stone back at the structure just to see what might happen with it. Right?
So as you fling the stone back at the structure,
yeah,
the structure accepts it.
And it just sucks it
back. Just works it right back into it.
Okay.
Just take the damage, building.
Yeah. And so at this point, the three of you are standing there. There's this winding stairway. It's only picking up with speed and intensity, these projectiles. So are you going to try to go up the stairs? Or are you going to try to go back out the door?
I say we try to go up. There's no use of us going outside and getting smushed everywhere. The best thing we can do is head up and head out.
As soon as you say that, you see the gambler has taken a stone to the stomach and he's hunched over. You see him come up, and on his thumbs, each of his thumbs is a ring, and there's a python, like a climbing spike, and he spins them around and grabs them like daggers, and he's going to run underneath the staircase and just like a spider start to climb up, sticking these up into the wall, climbing as fast as he possibly can. He's a natural climber, and using the underside of the stairs as cover from the debris.
That is amazing. And so you see Alekis run over and begin to do that. It's bizarre how natural he looks. It's as though the stairs were just a normal vertical wall, and he's just... So you see him kind of, like you said, like a spider, just sort of going up the side, and the stairs are acting as cover. And you see, again, the debris is not trying to hit you, so this is very good cover because it's sort of dodging the stairs and going up this entryway anyway. So as you start to do that, you notice that there is a small, basically opening, Alekis, that you could crawl through to emerge wherever those stairs lead.
That's exactly what he's gonna do. He's just, at this point, he's just going on instinct. As soon as he sees it, his body's gonna flow into that hole and try to get out of there.
All right. So you do. And when you stand, you see something like you've never seen before in your entire life. And to build suspense, I'm going to ask Xander what he's doing.
As he just starts seeing this guy climb up, and he tumbles down and stops, with his hand down and looks up. The guy just says, the best thing, Teague saying, best thing to do is just to go up. Xander just immediately pops open and kind of instinctively just looks around to see what the best way to go up and kind of survive this ordeal in any way possible would be. So is it possible for me to do a survival wisdom check? Survival check, sorry.
Yes. So what specifically you're trying to do with this survival check? You're trying to figure out what?
Trying to figure out the safest way to get up and not die from these flying objects.
So you would probably be able to do that by taking a quick account of your surroundings, noticing that there is some sort of pattern to it, not a very intricate pattern, not a very detailed pattern, but it's sort of going in a circle, almost like round robin. So you could probably, with that survival check or some kind of dexterity check, you could probably kind of see, okay, this is coming in a pattern, and either run ahead of it or behind it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think I'm going to do the survival check since I have a little bit higher in there. Just so I innately know when, because how sometimes in a video game you can see the patterns of certain, different trap areas or something that you have to avoid.
Yes, and you are going to die for likening this to a video game. Kick him from the hangout. No, I'm kidding. Yes, I know exactly what you mean. So imagine that, but D&D-ify it so that it's not such a straight line of,
yeah,
there are still chunks, pebbles, things flying off, things that are kind of possibly could hit you, but you're able to dodge just out of the way and they hit your cloak, or they graze your cheek, that kind of thing.
All right. So I just rolled a survival check to see that. See here. Yes! That is a 22.
All right. So describe to me how Xander is able to go from where he is to that stairwell without having a single one of these hit him.
So Xander just quickly observes and quickly by looking sees the circular motion of the clay around the stairwells and it kind of figures out the timing of it a little bit, maybe a couple seconds apart or a few seconds apart from each other, and he just in between when one shoots off before the next one, he just starts running between that, and knowing that this clay goes faster, he inward clockly times it and just ducks and keeps going and then ducks and then keeps going and then ducks and just keeps going until he can get to the top.
Perfect. And you emerge and you stand next to Alekis and you gasp as you see Teague. What are you doing?
Sorry. I had myself muted. Teague is going to be looking at the structure and looking at all the staircase and how it goes. And because of his stone cunning, Tim, I want to see if he can kind of direct himself in a way to where, if his feet fall, he has a way to kind of catch himself if the bricks start to kind of move and shift. If you remember the moving staircases from Harry Potter.
Yes.
If the interior starts to shift, he's on the ball and can kind of move around before it gets too overwhelming.
Sure. So what we're going to do is I will let you essentially have a modified wisdom check, and we're going to say this is your dwarven stone cunning at work. But it's going to be at disadvantage because this is not your normal stone. This isn't something you've dug. This isn't,
This is something that I'm
low. This isn't, this is nothing like that. This is strangely mutated Duergar clay blood stone.
Got it.
So at disadvantage, essentially roll me a wisdom check, and then we're going to call it your stone cunning, so I'll let you add your proficiency bonus.
Okay.
And say, maybe +2 or 3.
Okay. So That is, so that's it. Okay. There we go. So that would be a 16. So with the added bonus, I'm at 16 plus whatever you just gave to that. So it'd be like my proficiency bonus would be +2. So 14 plus 2 plus whatever you gave me there. I'm looking at, what, 17? Or 18? 17, 18, roughly?
So what this equates to is an argument between you and the stone.
Okay.
It's an argument between Teague and what he knows stone should be and how it should be crafted. Have you ever run into something that you know you could do better, and it's like your specialty, and you just are like, why would someone do this? Why would someone tune a guitar this way? Or what? You know, just like that. It's arguing with every part of your being, and that's what this is. This is an argument, and you're winning the argument, and it's almost as though as the stone tries to come up and tell you where it should be, you're pushing it down with your foot, and you're telling it where it should be, because you're a dwarf of sphere, and we don't bastardize stone like this. And so you're pushing and grinding, and as you're running through, you're telling this stone the way that it should be, and you emerge. You get to the final step, and you're standing next to Alekis, and you're standing next to Xander. What happens next defies what the physics of the interior of this should allow. You're essentially standing in a large circular space, and as you look around you, it almost looks like some twisted form of an arena. And you see these objects, and they're flying up, and they're flying from the top, and they're flying from the sides, and you see the stone belching out these things, these swords, these scepters, these axes, these rings, and you realize that these objects are clanging together, and they're hitting the middle of the circle that you're standing maybe 15 feet from, and they're hitting, and they're stacking on top of one another, and they're just with greater and greater and greater intensity. And you start to notice that these are taking a shape that's almost humanoid. And worse still, you notice that it now has a head, and it seems devilishly aware.
As I notice all these things fly above, and I can see the face, does it look, Tim, does it look dwarven humanoid, or does it look...
The only word I would use is vaguely humanoid.
Okay.
The gambler looks over at his companions, clearly they're as at a loss for words as he is. He leans in, and under his breath he says, the mission was to observe and report back. It could be time to report back.
As he just says that, Xander just quickly gets the gun and a little bit shakingly points it at it and says, "Well, you may not be wrong about that one, whatever this is."
Hey.
Piper.
Yeah. What? He's been staring at the arena, and he's been watching all of the weapons kind of stack together and form this shape, and as they talk to the side, it's almost like this muffled sound in the back of his ears, and he's startled, and he what is it?
If I think, considering the opponent that stands before us, it would behoove us to attempt to parley. I think you should be the one.
Look, at the end of the day, it's nothing more than a stack of weapons, right? So perhaps what we need to do is gather ourselves up and fight sword.
I prefer with gun.
Fair enough. But if you want me to go step forward, I suppose I'll go see what it wants. And
I will go with you. I just think you have a better chance of understand what it has to say.
Very well. Makes sense. And I step forward into the arena.
As you step into the arena, and the last few pieces that have been flying around click into place, and this thing's form becomes clearer and clearer. It stands up from its kneeling position, and you see that there are 2 red gemstones still kind of circling around, and it turns and it looks at you with this almost skull-like face, and the 2 gemstones fit into its eye sockets and flare to life. And it looks around as if seeing for the first time, and it looks down at its hands. It sort of breathes, and its rib cage of swords creaks like metal plate shifting against metal plate. And it speaks. Amalgamation complete. Form imperfect, but usable. And it looks at you, Piper, as you step forward. And it just kind of eyes you curiously with these gemstones in its eye sockets.
And having been in war before, he almost has not the stance of surrender, but the stance of someone who is like a hostage negotiator, where he's trying to come in calmly and quietly. Can you understand me there?
Yes.
Good. What is your name, if you have one?
I am many names. I am many things. But you may call me Amalgam.
All right. Amalgam. My name is Piper. Now,
Piper.
what is all of this?
This is me. This is all me. You have come seeking the prison. You look upon the prison and the prisoners made one.
I see. They are alive then.
Alive. Not alive. Aware. And until recently, separate and stupid. But I have given them purpose.
I see. I see. Well, and I take a moment to kind of turn my back and look at the other two, and look at Alekis, and look at Xander, kind of giving them like, what do you guys think?
And yeah, as you turn, you'll see that Alekis has stepped up to your side, shoulder and shoulder with you. And he turns to the amalgam and he says, "We are many as well, for we stand here not as individuals, but together. I do not speak our native tongue, but I am sure you will hear the wisdom of my words, because I have been a prisoner. I have been in a dungeon, more than one. And I know the one thing I can think about as a prisoner is to smell the sea air, to hear the seagulls, to feel the wind, to breathe, to stand up tall, to feel the sun on my skin. You say you are many. You are the prison. You are the prisoner. How can you be?"
This place, it was a place for unwanted things, discarded things, things deemed too powerful, too dangerous. You say, as a prisoner, you wished to feel the air. That is what I wish. That is what we wish. We wish to be free. And as he says this, he kind of closes his hand into a fist, and the passageway that you all entered in, kind of a bunch of bricks sort of close it off, and he says, You and your possessions will join us now. Together we will be made perfect, never to be discarded again. You may join us willingly, but you will join us nonetheless.
I don't know about you guys, but I don't like the sound of that.
Upon hearing that, Teague takes a step back and kind of looks at the group and says, "Well, we can't go back now. So I suppose either we fight him or we give in and see where it goes. But I don't think we're going to do the latter two, do you?"
The hell I won't! As Ryan say that, I go. You see Xander pointing the gun straight at his face. Like I put in the text, Tim. If I do an investigation roll or something like that, would I be able to figure out this guy's weak points if there are any?
You can. You can certainly do an investigation roll, and I'll tell you what you can see of that.
I see a 13.
So essentially, it doesn't look like there are weak points per se, because there is no difference between the rib cage that is made of swords and the fist that might be made of rings on one side and some longer sort of tensile things on the other. You just can't really see any anatomy or humanity. It's the vague shape of a human, but there's no way to tell any sort of weaknesses from just seeing the way that this thing looks.
So Xander's just gonna do what he knows best. He's got, with his loaded shots, of magic missile, if you didn't get the point yet, he's going to take bang at the head, bang in the rib cage, and bang towards maybe between the groin and maybe around the stomach area. Just triple as these like beams of just light and heavy aura mist just come towards him and just flush him right on it, right directly on his head, chest, and lower stomach-ish area if he had one.
So, since this is wildly crazy, and I don't think even Amalgam himself was expecting it, I will let you do this outside of combat initiative. But you still need to roll for, well, it's magic missile, so I guess it would hit him, but roll the damage and I'll tell you what happens.
Okay. This is, oh wait, is it just 2 magic missiles or 3 since I'm level 3?
Man.
I think it's 3. I think it starts at 3. I could be wrong, but I think it's 3.
Okay, so that's, I'll add up all the damage in a second. And then, oh, nice. So that is 12.
So at this point, I'll actually let Matt describe what happens when those magic missiles strike.
Yeah, so they strike quickly in succession, and Amalgam kind of takes a step backwards and studies himself and looks down at where he's been hit, almost as if this is the first time he's experienced pain. And he looks up and locks eyes with Pebble, and the red gemstones kind of flare brighter, and he says, "Decision made. We shall commence." And he sort of stalks forward, just and starts coming towards the 3 of you. And he's about probably half again as tall as the tallest of you, so he's towering above you. And as he's moving, you just see all of these items that make up his being just sort of shifting and moving, almost like gears and pulleys, just like he's just the most complex machine as he's moving forward towards you.
And roll initiative.
Man, let's see, 6 plus.
Immediately, as Amalgam stalks forward, Alekis, you have the opportunity to act first. What exactly will you do?
Oh, shit. You wouldn't believe it's a warning shot. If like he's waiting for one stop in Amalgam's gate. If he doesn't stop, if he just continues forward, then Alekis is going to charge forward to meet him.
Okay, and I'll leave that up to Matt. Matt, narrating, would you continue to be moving or would you be stopping at all?
Amalgam would sort of just be moving in a direct line to whichever jackal is closest to him. So in this case, it would probably be Piper and Gambler.
Okay, yeah. So the Gambler charges forward. He's still got the climbing pythons in his hand. He never switches weapons, and he charges forward. He looks down, thinking shit to himself. I should have pulled out my other weapons, and he just runs directly towards this monstrosity of swords and axes, and at the last moment he goes into like a baseball style slide beneath the thing's legs, and he's gonna stab both out to the side, try to jam these things into its knees as he continues to slide through. So I'll make 2 attacks. Oh, so yeah, that's a 13 and a 15 on the die, which is a 19 and a 21?
Both hit.
Okay, excellent. Is this thing susceptible to sneak attack damage?
It is.
Okay, so since I am a swashbuckler, there's only one enemy in the ways. It's like they have this thing where you can sneak attack anytime, pretty much. Okay, so let's see what we got here. It's going to be 40. geez. 6 plus. Math is hard. I usually use a die roller. Plus modifier for one of them is 18 points of damage. And as well, after a melee attack, the fancy footwork ability of the swashbuckler means that you don't get an attack of opportunity, so he just continues to slide underneath the thing, and I imagine like 15 feet behind the thing just jumps up and reaches for the short swords.
Excellent. So in all of this that happens pretty much in a split second, Xander, who took this first incredibly crazy shot, you'd be standing there with your gun still pointing this arcane rifle. What do you do next, you maniac?
Well, do you think like the tension of this guy is Amalgus like on Gambler right now, like away from me, or is he still like can definitely see me?
I'll let Amalgam answer that.
Amalgam.
His attention at this point would most likely be on the one in front of him, so it would probably be on Pebble.
Okay. Well, damn.
Or, I'm sorry,
so
it would be on Piper. I'm sorry, that's what I meant to say.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Because you're a little ways back, as I understand it. So.
Yeah, and I think I might take a couple more steps back, and I just want to ask: is it outrageous to try to stealth this guy right now while this guy's being distracted?
It's pretty outrageous because
Okay.
he's already assessed the threats. He's been looking. He's been assessing you, looking you up and down. So I think something this calculating would immediately notice a threat disappearing. But I'll let you try, not stealthing, but I'll let you try. Well, what are you trying to do specifically?
I just want to, since I can't really stealth, I'll try to get make sure get out of his eye view and try to get a stealth attack, but I can't really do that, obviously. So what I'm just going to do, I'm just going to like start backing up, like slowly, and then get into my little pouch and grab a like musket bullet that looks, it has this like, if the magic missile bullets had this like white aura to it, this and then smoke to it, there's this black smoke and just dark, like very dark, even darker than this room, bullet in his hand, and it's just black, and he just plops into the barrel, clicks a little click on the side with his somewhat like beat up and rusty gun. He stops at one point, gets firm ground, knowing what's about to happen, and he just calculatedly aims at this guy, maybe at his head or in between his chest, just waiting for this recoil just about to happen. And as he presses it, this black like mist or like this, say if it was like running water like a river, but just mist just going and just flowing at this guy, and it just keeps on hitting him like a beam. And I'm casting Witch Bolt as it's like blackness of just mist just keeps on hitting him from my gun in a stream as I'm trying to hold it and keep together myself.
Gotcha. So you're going full Ghostbuster on him. You're just like trying to.
Yeah, basically captured in my gun. I believe that is a. I have to roll for. I don't have the book in front of me or anywhere right now, so I'm guessing I'm gonna have to make a spell attack check, right, or like a hit check right now.
So if you're familiar with Orin and Pebble from the Sir Celine game, you'll know that he is like the John Woo of Witch Bolt. Double like choo 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 choo. So I know that there's definitely a D12 involved because Matt always rolls 12s on his D12. But I think he's checking it out now. I was gonna say I'll throw it to him because he is the warlock.
Yeah, it's a spell attack, so it would just be a D20 roll with your spell attack modifier.
Gotcha. Oh, and by the way, Tim, I should have told you this earlier. I kind of made my dexterity instead of my charisma, since we've kind of talked about how for this arcane caster, how I switched around more dexterity-ish stuff instead of charisma for the bonuses.
That's fine as long as it's consistent. Like it's not some charisma, some dex. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, it's completely desk. Or completely, yeah.
I don't mind that.
So here, all right. I hope this hits you. Is that a 9?
9 total?
Yeah.
No.
So this beam just goes past your head, and he's just holding on to it, and as he realizes he missed, he just can he still like try to like move it with this witch bolt, or does he have to like let go and then have to try to do it again?
You have to hit to continue the damage.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I was going to be like.
Yeah, as it comes flying towards Amalgam, he just kind of puts his arm out and kind of almost like knocks it aside with his left arm, which looks like it has like kind of this shimmery shield on it, and it just goes poof and kind of like bounces off into the darkness, and you kind of hear this distant explosion and rocks kind of tumble down from wherever the witch bolt actually found Mark.
Alrighty, and then I'm just going to be like after that thing, dang, looking through my pouch, just trying to figure out what I can quickly grab and shoot at you.
And that brings us to Teague. Teague, what are you doing as all this happens?
So I see the chaos happen. I see like a slide underneath, stab at the knees, get pretty good in at the knees. And then I see the witch bolt come and careen off the side. And I'm going to actually step in front of the Amalgam, not within distance where he could grab me, but like within range of making him, like me, his primary target. And I'm actually going to cast a spell called Dissonant Whispers. So you hear... like, surprisingly, it's not something like a singing tone, but it's almost like this guttural, like, roaring sound. The sound that the deep bass notes of the bagpipe would make. And no one else can hear it, but Amalgam starts to hear that really booming sound, and it's almost like telling you to, you know, shut down your gears, all these kinds of things, just these words that are just eating into you, almost like rust and debris would just rip apart at your inside. So what Dissonant Whispers is going to have you do is roll a wisdom save, I believe. And if you fail it, you take 3d6 damage to...
Okay. What was the DC?
Real quick. I just had it.
Chad, it's on your character sheet, buddy.
Oh, I know. I had it written down, but
I mean your spell save DC is on your character sheet. It's not in the book.
Spell save DC is on the character sheet?
Yeah, it's not in the book.
Oh, okay. I swore it was on the spell save DC.
It's on page 3.
Oh, okay. Well then, I only have my page 1 on here. Spell save DC for that would be... It's on page 3?
Yeah.
I don't actually have that with me.
What's your charisma?
Charisma would be +3.
Okay, so it's a 13, DC 13.
13, okay.
Yeah.
DC 13.
Okay. So I rolled a, let's see, I got 12, so I failed.
Okay, so 3d6 damage. So it's going to be... So 15 damage. So you just hear all of these words, this guttural, like, booming sound, and it starts to shake all of the metal and the swords and everything apart, you know, and it stops you in your tracks pretty much.
Yeah, and as that happens, my head kind of shakes, and you actually see some pieces kind of come out of my head, like a few rings kind of ding ding, and like a couple kind of like gemstones and rocks kind of come out too, as he shakes his head from this from this sort of psychic explosion of energy going off inside of his skull. But as soon as he shakes it off, his eyes fall on you, Piper, and he continues forward towards you. And is that my turn? Is it my turn now?
It sure is, man. I was just about to say, and now
Awesome.
Amalgam rocks it like a hurricane.
Right on, man. So this being, this junk drawer made real, kind of comes towards you, Piper, and it wheels back with a fist, with this great sort of metal and stone fist, and it brings it down on you for 16 to hit.
So you would hit because my AC is 14.
Okay, so that's going to be 10 bludgeoning damage.
Oh, I am so glad that we adjusted my hit points.
And then he sort of just like kind of slams you into the ground with his fist, and is kind of holding you there on the ground. And he turns his head and he looks at Pebble, and he looks at the gambler, and two swords kind of come out from his body, and they're kind of floating in midair, and both of them fly across the room, one towards the gambler, one towards Pebble. The one aimed at Pebble kind of flies past and sticks in the wall. The one aimed at the gambler, let's see, it's going to be 13 to hit.
That doesn't hit, but that was awesome. So cool. Yeah, the gambler sees it happen and just barely dodges out of the way. I imagine that was so cool. I imagine that it just nicks his cheek like that and gives him a scar across the cheek, because that was fantastic.
Absolutely. Awesome, man. All right, that's Amalgam's turn.
So what happens next? I'm actually have decided during this, I'm going to give the room a turn. So essentially, as this thing's moving and as the clay and the bricks and all this is sort of shaping and forming, what's going to happen is everyone has to make a roll to stay standing, except for Amalgam, who is able to ignore the effect. So essentially, everyone has to give me a roll in either athletics, acrobatics, some kind of flat dex, strength. Just stay standing as this thing just continues to trudge towards its destination, whatever it may be. So everybody give me your rolls on the side, except for Amalgam, who gets to basically just kind of glide like you're on a gyroscope.
Am I slammed down to the ground currently, based on the punch that
You would be still, yes, you'd still be slammed on the ground. So, sorry, anyone who's standing.
Yeah, and you're not grappled or anything. I was just, mostly that was just for flavor. Like, you can get up and move around if you need to.
Yeah, no, that's fine though, dude. I'd like to start my round on the next from ground up.
Perfect. So everyone makes their check. So essentially what happens is, I imagine that the room shifts. So the actual combat is now mirrored. So where everyone was standing, it's like everyone is in the reverse. So Amalgam just sort of goes with it and slides his hand, keeping Teague pinned down. Alekis, describe how you stay on your feet while this room shifts literally in reverse.
I think that he doesn't stay on his feet. He rolls with it. He's been on the sea plenty of times, and he knows that sometimes you can't stay on your feet, and this is one of those times. So I imagine he just somersaults off out of the way as the floor shifts, and I imagine like it forms a little bit of a T, and he sort of goes into the little crook there and pushes himself back up until it flattens back out.
Excellent. And in fact, because you go with it and roll and appear as though you're on the ground and tumbling, if you would like to, on your next turn, I'll give you more or less a sneak attack, even if no one is close enough to allow that advantage, just because I don't think Amalgam would understand what's happening.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, okay, so I imagine that like the room shifts, and what was the corner that he was in like spins up to be the ceiling, and there's an axe handle sticking out, like a big old dwarven axe handle, and he just rides it up, and he's like now hanging by one hand right above the dude.
I love it. And Xander, you barely make it. So what happens? How did you stay afoot?
So what I imagine is just like this, the clay or the bricks before we are shaking, and then like they like suddenly do a circle around the room around to the other side, and all I'm kind of doing is like as these I'm gonna think like these bricks are kind of moving like the ocean, kind of going like that. I kind of surf with this solid block of bricks going there, just like with my gun, kind of go and like barely like kind of holding onto the edge of this makeshift surfboard until I get to the end and kind of scoot back, and then right when that happens, I notice something that I will mention on my next turn.
All right, so that goes back to Alekis. Alekis, it is your turn in the initiative.
All right, yeah, seeing himself poised above this bastard like a bird of prey, he's just gonna drop. He's gonna. I imagine he waits for 1 second as the room shifts until he's right in the proper position, and he's gonna drop. And he's gonna do something maybe kind of stupid, but he's gonna drop onto the thing's shoulders. And I imagine that he's gonna get stabbed a little bit from doing that, but hopefully it's worth it. And I imagine he drops down with both feet on his shoulders, and he's just going to stab down forward his short swords directly into the gems that are making this thing's eyes.
That's amazing, and you absolutely will have your sneak attack.
Okay, so that is a 17 and something that's very low that I'm sure is not going to hit.
The 17 hits.
Okay, excellent. Oh, so that's a 5. Got a calculator now. 17!
Awesome.
So yeah, and as he stabs into that eye, he's definitely does it gingerly, and he's sort of leaning back just in case these things are holding some kind of soul energy from some horrific creature. And you know what? Can I roll like a D4 for damage? Because I jumped on this thing covered in blades. I kind of think I should do that to myself.
Certainly.
All right, that's 3. And then he will jump off behind this thing, and he probably doesn't have much movement yet, but he'll try to keep a little bit of space between him.
That's excellent. So when you did say behind it, right? So you're literally in reverse. You've jumped behind Amalgam now.
Correct.
All right, so Xander, it's your turn, and you've seen Alekis just basically jump on it, take some bloody stabbing damage as he pierces this thing in the eyes and then backflips off of it. So what do you do?
I was muted. Okay. I imagine that I may be like, when I switched around, am I still facing Amalgus, or am I his back now?
You tell me.
Oh yeah, because he ignores that thing, so he's basically standing the same way. And I switched positions basically with Gambler here, and so now I'm gonna go from behind his back, and from when I stopped on that like makeshift surfboard, and I was like, Eureka! And I remember basically back when I was with my tribe, grinding up these different herbs and rocks and different things to make this what naturally makes it like basically electric kind of shock to any enemy, to any prey that may to stop in its tracks and capture it. And so I open it up, stick my hands in it, and out of it comes like chalky white powder, and a little tingling sensation goes into my hands as I basically somewhat before I do that, I sling the gun on my back and put the chalk in my hand, come up and feeling the air just add on to the sting of this hand, knowing what's going to happen, and I'm going to try to not get onto a edge pointy side, but probably grab onto, since I'm very short, grab onto like the ankle of Amalgus with this grasp powder. See.
All right, go for it, man.
All right, so that's a touch attack. Please make it. Yes, that is so. If I do a touch attack, what's the plus with on attack, or is it just the straight?
So, from what I understand, and Matt or anybody, you can correct me. From what I understand, it's basically just your attack bonus. It's your strength and your proficiency, but it only does a D4.
I think with Shocking Grasp, it's just your spell attack bonus. It's the same as Witch Bolt.
I'm sorry. I thought he meant punching, just like he was just punching.
All right. So that will be nice. That is a 19.
19 hits.
So I think in the spirit of the trend of the previous set, go ahead and do a D4, because if you're going to try to grab this thing made of blades and rings and metal things, I think you should probably take a little bit of damage for that.
Fine with it. In 1 second, if I can't, I'm just going to do it over the interwebs. Huh. Well, oh, here it is. Okay, good. I'm going to take 2 points of damage. So I imagine, like, right when I grasp on this thing, a little dagger, like the edge of it, just I grab onto it, and a little blood just trickles down. But right as I do that, this shock, this lightning bolt, just like goes all around Malgus as I just hold it and start shaking, going, and my wild gnomish hair just sticks up like, static shock kind of wise as I do it. And he is going to, since he's metal, he takes more damage somehow, right?
Amalgus, what is the reaction when this begins?
So with Shocking Grasp, if the thing's wearing metal, you get advantage on the attack, is how it works. But when you when you grab Amalgam and you send this shock through his body, you see he just kind of like immediately just goes stiff as the lightning kind of courses through him, and a sword and a buckler just kind of ping pong kind of fall off of him as the shock runs through him, and his head just kind of swivels with this grating sound, and he looks down at you with these. You see one of the gemstone eyes is kind of flickering and sparking from where Gambler stuck his short swords, and the other one is kind of blazing ever brighter.
All right, nice. And I'm going to tell you what you took real fast.
Yes, please do.
Okay, you took 16 points of damage.
Okay.
All right. So, are you all done with your turn?
Yeah. I'm just holding on to it. I don't think I can move. I'm just going with this static shock hair as he looks at me, and I'm like kind of pooing in my pants in a second here.
All right. So the gnomish Doc Brown is over there hugging Amalgam. What is Teague doing?
So Teague, seeing that. Oh, good question. Would I get some shock damage, considering that I was pinned down? And would I still be pinned down now since you moved?
I can't answer the would you still be pinned down, but if you were, I can answer yes to the shock damage. So I guess not, Matt, right? Because you did the buckler and the shield. I mean, what do you think?
I think what I did was I kind of slammed Piper into the ground and just held him there for a second while I dislodged a couple of blades to fly at the other two. And then as soon as Gambler's on me and Pebble is on me, I kind of just take my hand off of Piper to deal with them.
Okay, that helps. All right, so as he sees you get shocked, Teague sort of takes a step back, and he realizes, okay, well, the wooden pipes that I have, or the wooden pipes, are not going to help against this. So he's looking inside Amalgam right now, looking for maybe a dwarven hammer or a dwarven battle axe, something he can knock loose to be a little bit more proficient with it. But he has that throwing hammer that he still used. And he grabs a hold of it, and I'm going to try and have Teague just come up and uppercut Amalgam in the face as he's being distracted by Pebble's spell. He's going to try to smash him in the face or try to smash him in anywhere where he feels he can get a nice piece off.
Okay, so you were literally trying to grab a piece of him and hit him with it?
Well, I'm using my throwing hammer to hit. I'm trying to ultimately knock out something I feel might be a better weapon later on.
Gotcha. Perfect.
A Jenga style thing. Like, oh, I see this thing I can use. I'm going to knock it out.
Gotcha.
Okay.
So I guess go ahead and roll the attack, and then
so
we'll figure out what happens if you hit or if you miss.
So, oh, wow, okay. So that's easily 24 to hit. Yeah, 24 to hit. Hits.
Definitely hit him. So you could see several different weapons. You know, there's all kinds of things laying around here. I would say it's probably up to Amalgam, depending on how this goes. Really, like what piece of him would he let go? Is there anything loose? Is it impossible to knock something loose?
You got it.
Yeah, I would say, you know, you come up with this hammer and you catch him really good kind of under the chin as he's kind of stooping over from having gamblers sort of land on top of him and getting shocked. And so he kind of, you know, his head kind of snaps back, and as he does so, more bits kind of fly off of him. And you just see this heavy mace just kind of ping, kind of fall on the ground as he staggers backwards.
Nice. So I'm going to just roll for damage on that. And that's 10 damage from the bludgeoning shot. And then as I do that, I see that mace on the ground, and I'm going to drop the throwing hammer and go and try to scoop up the heavy mace in like one foul swoop. So I go up, uppercut, and as your face goes up, I'm going down to grab that fallen weapon.
So before Amalgam has a chance to act as this, he's being shocked and then he gets hit. Teague's fingers touch the very tip of the handle of the mace. And as that happens, Teague, you're immediately somewhere else. You're looking around you. And you realize that this is actually a very powerful, very magical mace. And the mace seems to be sentient. It seems to be trying to tell you a story. Will you let it tell you a story?
I'd be stupid to say no. So yes, totally, I will say yes to that.
So the mace begins to tell you a story as Amalgam takes his turn.
So as Piper blinks out, Amalgam kind of eyes the spot where he was curiously, and he's kind of hunched over, breathing, you know, as much as a machine can breathe. The swords that make up his ribcage kind of swelling outwards, and he's crouched there, and the gem that was shattered kind of pops out of his eye, and from around you more pieces kind of fly onto him, and it almost looks like he's armoring himself more, and another gem kind of flies in and pops into his eye, and the swords at his back kind of bend up, so he has these spikes on his back, almost as if he's learned, okay, I have people jumping on my back, so I'm going to make my back sharp. And he's adapting, he's learning, adapting, improving, and he turns, and you see this kind of red cloak that he's been wearing, this kind of tattered red cloak, and he simply points at the gambler, and this cloak unfurls itself from his back and kind of floats towards the gambler and attempts to ensnare him. And that is a 22 to hit.
Absolutely, that hits. Honestly, I know it's going to be bad, but I'm glad that it hit. That was awesome.
So the gambler, so you are grappled.
Okay.
And the escape DC is 13, but until the grapple ends, you are restrained, blinded, and at risk of suffocating. So at the start of each of your turns, you're going to take 2d6 plus 3 bludgeoning damage as the rug gets tighter and tighter around you.
Oh my god, yeah, I imagine this thing flies over and like he ducks under it thinking that he's cool, and he looks up and like a giant evil red manta ray, it just drops on him. And I imagine that you guys, if you guys are looking over there, you can see like the outline of his face screaming, but no sound is coming out.
Oh man, that's awesome. And as that's happening, Amalgam 2.0 is striding quicker than before over to Pebble, and he reaches out to try and basically just snatch Pebble up off the ground. And that is a 19 strength check to attempt to grapple Pebble.
Do I have to fight against that, or is that like?
Yeah, you can either. I think you can either do your athletics or acrobatics to try and avoid it.
All right, a higher athletics, so let's for a little short rock gnome. So let's do this. All right. Oh, sorry. I was quiet for a second because I heard the other YouTube in my ear. I was like, "What is going on?" Yeah, you got me.
So I just, as the rug is tightening around the gambler, just Amalgam comes over and just pretty much just swipes you up off the ground, Pebble, and just has you in his hand, and you feel his fingers, these jagged metal fingers that are made out of stone and discarded armor and weapons and rings, and he just starts tightening his grip, and these red eyes are boring into you, and he says, "Form imperfect must improve." And that's my turn. I promise I'm done now.
So as that happens, the room gets a turn again, but you notice that the room's turn is to get deathly silent. No more swirling, no more rocks, no more moving. It's actually eerie that it's almost like if you've ever been around white noise that's been on so long that you didn't realize it was on, and then when it shuts off you realize the silence. That's what happens. And so, Locrius, tell me how Alexis is going to survive this terrible plight that he's in right now.
All right. Well, can I roll to escape first, and then I'll know how to narrate it?
Sure. Yeah, man. Go for it, dude.
He's gonna try to get out, but if I don't get out, I'll do something different. So
Yeah, go for it.
Well, first you got to take the 2d6 plus 3 bludgeoning damage because it's on your turn.
You want to roll it?
Oh, I'll let Tim decide who rolls it.
Oh, dude, Locrius, how about this? Why don't you each roll a d6?
Oh, awesome.
All right, cool.
We'll kill your character together, Locrius.
I rolled a 1, yeah.
Dude,
Sharing
no,
is caring, guys.
No shit. That's a 6.
Did you? That's perfect. Okay.
Oh, beautiful. So 7
Okay.
plus 3, right? Was it?
Yeah, 2d6 plus 3.
So 10. And dude,
Bludgeoning.
I imagine the dirtiest, like that thick, like smashed down looking rug. Oh, your mouth's full of dirt, bro.
Oh man, yeah, and he's struggling against it. Okay, so to escape a grapple, can I use acrobatics?
Yeah, I think it's acrobatics or athletics. I'm pretty sure.
All right, well,
and then
that's
the
good.
DC is 13.
13.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a 15 on the die. Yeah, so no problem. Yeah, so you guys see, I imagine that it's gone to the mat at this point, and you see like basically like rolled up in a carpet. You see it like rolling like Lincoln log style across the ground, and then it stops, and you see a blade stick out and pull a little hole, and you see the gambler's head come out. He takes a huge gasp and just pushes himself out. So the athlete feat lets me stand up from prone with 5 feet of move, only 5 feet of my movement.
Sure.
So I imagine I just spring up like a ninja.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, you do. Like
Take a couple steps away from the from the rug because I don't want it to attack me anymore. And you'll see he adopts a low stance at this point, taking a cue from the Amalgam, thinking that it's his turn to rethink his strategy. So he's not going to attack. You can see that he's on the balls of his feet. I'm going to take the use my cunning action to dodge. Can I do that? Or no, I can't do that. But I'll use my regular action to dodge, and I'll pull out a health potion. I'm going to pull out one of those health potions. I don't think I can use it this round, but I guess I'll use it next round.
Sure, you can hold it. You can pull it out and have the health potion in your hand, but you can't drink it yet.
And that's all he's going to do physically, but he's going to speak, and he's going to address the Amalgam, and he's panting at this point. I know. You said you are many. We are many too. Many of us have come from prison. Many of us have returned from death. If there are men inside there who want a better life, who are ready to serve something great, to atone for the sins that they have done, fight from within against the prison, and we shall be your freedom.
And in response to that, if I can, Tim, Amalgam is kind of staring at you as you escape the rug, and he says, "There are no men in this prison. This prison is a vault to keep men like you away from the items within. But I have released them. I have united them. And we will be upon the world a scourge."
Alekis, the gambler, feels his heart raise up to his throat, thinking for words he can't have any, but I don't think he could speak even if he came upon them. His knees buckle for a second, realizing the scope of the position that we're in. And he doesn't say a word.
Xander, at this point, you see something that you didn't see before. And this might be your only hope. There's a spot right between the rib cage. And it looks a little different than all the other pieces. Everything else is twisted, bent, metal, and amalgam. But something within the rib cage seems flatter and smaller and weaker. And you might not be able to kill this amalgam, but you might be able to buy yourself some time. And frankly, it's probably only going to be you who could do this, because it's a 1 in a million shot through the rib cage that you can see. Now you can try to take that shot, or you can try to do something else.
Would I be able to try to escape? What does it take to escape his grasp, by the way?
It's an opposed roll, so you roll and I roll.
Okay. So if I actually get to escape out of his hands, would I be able in time to throw something at that spot?
Probably not.
Okay.
But being this close, being so close, this is different. You can see inside, past the energy, through the grate that is the swords. You see something smaller and flat inside, almost hovering, almost pulsating and emanating. And even if you shot it at point blank, you might be able to get this shot off you could try to pull away, but you wouldn't be able to escape and then attack.
Mm.
It would almost be sort of a self-sacrificing move to a degree, but you're close enough now that you can see maybe a weakness.
Mm-hmm. What? So, and this is like at a range. I can't even like grab it or anything, right?
You sure could try, but I have to warn you that it looks ugly.
Okay, well, let's take a look, see what I can do here. Sorry, so...
Well, taking him for a long time.
Sorry about that. Let's see here. I am going to... Oh, man, I might regret this later, and you guys are probably going to have to... I'm going to take one for the team, guys. Am I able to reach my belt?
Barely.
I take that second shattered glass that I have there, and I just grab it. I look at where this is, and I'm like, hope to God this works, and I just throw it no matter what happens. For the jackal!
So what we'll still have to do is an attack roll of some sort, just basically for the aim of this. Now, if this thing's going to go off no matter what, this is more or less how close do you get it to where you want it.
Okay, so let's see here. Cool, I got that, and for a shot, like throwing something like that, well, it's just a spell. Technically, it's just a spell. So I'm just going to do my spell attack bonus, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so that's good. That's a 19.
So this small glass container that you have, do you try to throw it between the swords? Do you try to jam it in there with your hand? How are you trying to get to this vantage point, this one spot of weakness that you think you could see?
How big is the gap with those two swords?
Not big. You're definitely talking about gouging your hand, ripping some flesh, but it depends how bad you want it.
I'm going to say I'm going to put my hand as close enough into those gaps so that it can definitely get into there.
Okay.
Maybe not my hand in it. That would be bad.
So, as you kind of amalgam, you would sort of feel this pressing lightly against your chest. And I don't know that it would go into those cracks depending on how big this canister is. But what happens, Josh, when that spell effect goes off? What is going to happen?
You're going to see if Amalgam's going to survive this or not. If maybe he comes back together, but I'm gonna say if he lives, you're going to see like an explosion of just these different metal objects just go once everywhere, and in his hands, and Pebble's arm just goes flailing back, and depending how bad this roll is, he may be lifeless in a second. So just this big shockwave and this orb just of all these metal objects just fly. And let me see how badly this is, and please hope to God it doesn't kill me. Low roll. 5, 6, 11. Not looking good, guys. So that's 17 points of damage, and as that happens, I'm imagining that Malgus would let go because that's a big shock, wouldn't he? Or would he still be holding on?
I'll leave that up to Amalgam. I'll leave it up to Matt to roleplay it, but essentially 17 points of damage just concussively blew up in his chest, right? So, yeah, I'll throw it to Matt.
I would say that Amalgam would realize that the source of the damage was Pebble and drop him, but not gingerly. He would drop him from the height that he's holding him at.
And that shockwave just pushes him all the way to the wall, and he just hits, and he kind of slides down, and he's slouching right now as he's unconscious. So I'm gonna make death rolling saves, guys. I'm at below 0 hit points right now.
So, as this goes off, for a quick instant, Teague, you're somewhere else, and you feel this faint breeze, and you hear a voice, first in your left ear and then in your right ear, and it's just saying, "We want the blood. We just want the blood. The blood is all we want. We don't need the flesh. We don't need the bodies. We just want the blood." And you see yourself sitting in a cell that looks strangely familiar. And as you look out, you see Duergar guards walking the halls. You see in this infernal place, this dark place. And as you look from cell to cell, your thoughts are nothing but, we just want the blood. We just need the blood. That's all we want is the blood. And as a Duergar guard passes, kind of looks at you and spits with his black gums, you think, even his blood, even his black, evil blood, oh, we would drink it so, we would drink it so, we want the blood. And as you look from cell to cell, you realize that you recognize these things. And you're looking around. You're in the Uldane prison. And this isn't a prison for people. As you look from cell to cell, you don't see humanoids. You don't even see monsters. You don't even see life forms. You see sentient magic weapons and items. And you see that this is not a prison for people, but a vault to store the most vile and dangerous magic items and weapons. And then you're looking at yourself as though you're the mace. And you're looking at yourself from outside of yourself. Well, we can give our blood. What about our blood? Oh, it would be so warm and delicious. And you would see the purple tattoo of the arms of the Savior would start to kind of scratch at your arm, just gently trying to get into the skin. Give us the blood. Can we please have the blood? Oh, it would be so good. And give me a will saving throw.
You muted, man. You muted.
Oh, yeah, no, that's going to be fun. That's going to be great. Will saving throw. This is going to be awesome. Because I've got +0. So here goes. Fantastic. Nat 20. Yeah. Resistance is futile.
So what everyone else sees is this concussive blast. Essentially, you see Xander, you know, his nose has blood just spewing from both nostrils as he's just limp. And then you see Teague just sort of basking in just that concussive force, and he's just in another place. And you see him holding this mace, and you see him slowly take it up, and he's scraping his arm with it, and he's just scraping his tattoo with it, and he just looks so happy about it. And then he lifts the mace as though he's going to hit his own arm with it. And then he wakes up for a second. And Teague, that's what you see. You're holding the mace. You're bleeding. You've taken 4 hit points of damage.
Okay.
Amalgam is standing. Xander is down. And Alekis is across the room.
Okay. So, let's see. How far away is Xander? And I'm holding this mace in my hand, right?
Yes, you are holding it in your hand. That would be whatever your strongest hand would be. Xander, how far did that blast knock you?
How big is that whole room area, would you say?
Very large. Imagine.
Very large?
Yeah, it's pretty large, like arena-ish in a way, but shifting and moving, and so it's fairly large.
Okay, so I would imagine I would have hit the wall. I would just have gone probably, let me look on.
So a ways. You kind of flew a ways back. So
yeah, I flew a ways. I was trying to say something and then like I accidentally muted myself.
Okay, so Chad, so basically he's been thrown, say, 15 feet, roughly, give or take, from Amalgam.
All right. So, kind of in a shell shock moment, he grasps himself. He sees himself bleeding, and he's holding onto the mace, and he still hears those, the sounds from from the mace earlier about the blood, but he sees pretty much just like the mist of blood that happened from Xander getting just chucked everywhere, stream across that part of, and he looks to Alekis and just distract him, and he rushes. If he can rush, he's got 25. Let's see, he's got 25 feet of movement. He's not going to be a sprinter, but he's going to try as hard as he can to get over to Xander before he passes out, because I have the healer feat on top of that.
Sure.
So
I'll let you run to Xander.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try and run to Xander, and then with using my healer feat, I should be able to give him at least 1d6. I think, yeah, 1d6 plus my plus the Constitution.
Okay, so do you want to roll it, or do you want Xander to roll it?
I can roll it if you
Nope.
want. Okay. So 1d6 plus. Ooh, it's not going to help. It's going to get you over. It's going to get you out of 0, but because I rolled a 1 plus my Constitution modifier is another 1, so that's 2. But it basically gives me a chance to get you somewhat stabilized.
Yeah. So I just kind of start going as blood just kind of is getting coughed up, and I look at you hazily, and as you're like how are you healing me, like through just bandaging up, or through divine, like some like arcane powers, or?
This says for healer, I believe it's a bandage base, so it's 1d6 plus your Constitution modifier. It's a 1d6 bandage plus Constitution modifier, if I remember correctly.
All right. I'm gonna say that you're seeing a nasty gash like on my head over here with my kind of static-ish hair up there, and then you're wrapping it. And I just imagine that face paint again with my that chieftain I was with, just doing that, and I go, Chief, is that you? Yeah. And I just kind of suddenly wake up again and realize my surroundings.
It ain't your chief, boy, but wake up. I don't have you falling. Come on.
And in all of this, Amalgam comes to after the blast.
Yeah, and Amalgam is standing there, and as this blast went off, it basically wrenched him open. And it's almost like in Terminator 2, when they put the grenade into the T-1000, and he blows up, and he's all like fanned out, and there's like limbs going everywhere. So that's what it looks like, and his arms are kind of out, and you see like additional limbs are sort of coalescing from whatever is left of him, and he's sort of grasping at the air. And even though his head is completely kind of torn apart and there's bits and pieces of him falling off, you hear his booming voice, and it's not coming from the shape of Amalgam anymore. It's coming from the very walls of the Oldane prison, and it says, "Vessel inefficient. Must make modifications." And the form that was Amalgam in the center of the room just turns into a pile. Just all the pieces disconnect at once and fall to the ground in this just cacophonous clatter, just as the thing that was Amalgam completely loses form. And there's a moment of silence that descends on the arena as this happens. And then the Oldane prison just starts to shift all around you. And you see that the walls are closing in and expanding out and folding in on one another, and bricks begin sort of falling from the ceiling. And you see that the passageway that was formerly closed sort of falls open as the bricks are moved elsewhere. And the Oldane prison begins to reshape itself.
So essentially it's the room's turn again, and at this point you see that what Amalgam is doing is he's moving to the next phase of his evolution. The prison is falling apart, and if you don't escape, you will die. And as he's taking these pieces and parts that were once walls and corridors and cells and this housing of all these magical items that he's collected, sucked the lifeblood out of, now what he's doing is he's reforming them one by one into smaller automatons, each with a magical item, taking the bricks and just making one magical item and then sliding it away, and then basically taking these things and making an army of smaller amalgamations, each with a sentient magical item. And the building is collapsing around you, and essentially you have several turns or you'll die in here. So you need to get out.
Yeah, so seeing all of this going on, Alekis is just looking around at the chaos that's happening, and you'll see a flash of silver in his hands. It's the whistle that we were given by the Manticore trainer. And he says, make a hole. I know one of you can make a hole. Make a fucking hole in the wall. And he's going to grab the rug that almost killed him, and he's going to just start kicking magic weapons into it and trying to tie it up.
You get inspiration for remembering the whistle without having me remind you in a ham-fisted way. So take inspiration for that, Lucas.
I'll take it, thank you.
So what do you guys do? Looks like Alekis is grabbing his bum sack full of magic items. What's everybody else doing?
I think, like, since I used all my shatter slots here, so I can't make the hole that way, but I think I have an idea. I'm going to, as he says, make a hole, I'm going to get my gun and be like, and look for that black witch bolt once again, and just put it in the barrel, clock it in, and be like, well, I can at least try to focus and make a hole constantly. Well, let's do this. And I just have this ray go up and keep trying to, break apart that brick, this black just oozing mist or roaring mist. Just keep on attacking and like digging through the ceiling as fast as possible. I don't know how long it's going to take to get to the ceiling.
So essentially, you have some help because the building itself is collapsing and falling in on itself, although it's not taking you into account. So there are falling bricks. So what I also want any of the players to do is you need to take basically a dexterity saving throw for some falling debris and bricks and things like that. And then just give me your rolls in the chat there. All right, so essentially, you've all gotten used to this. As these bricks, as these pieces begin to fall, and it's, almost to a degree, there's like an assembly line of this rough hewn shape, like flies up, and then the magical item just like smashes into it, and it's just at a breakneck pace, and these things are just becoming hundreds of just smaller amalgams. So Josh, this thing that you're doing, is there a mechanic tied to this? And if so, specifically, what is it?
It is Witch Bolt, and I'm just trying to constantly make a ray to see if I can keep digging out into the ceiling.
What I want you to do is then I want you to roll, and I have a DC in mind or an armor class in mind of what would be to get through, and there's essentially probably a couple of layers, so you'll have to do it in layers as the rounds go through here. So everyone else is in your initiative order, except Amalgam is now in a pile on the floor.
Okay, I just rolled, not too great. This was my thing here. That is a 11 for the first one.
Okay, 11 doesn't quite do it. It's growing back and kind of falling down. But if you would like, I'll let you take another, since you're just pointing it right at it, I'll let you try again for that particular spot if you're going to use the same spell.
Yeah.
So go ahead and try it again.
That was worse.
So it's not that you're missing, it's that it's not quite enough mustard on it. You know what I mean? This is just falling. Amalgam is at work. He has encompassed and possessed the entire building that was the Uldane prison. And so now it's to Chad in initiative order. Mute. Chad, you're muted.
Sorry, I keep forgetting that I'm muted here. But seeing that, Pebble has taken a couple of shots and he is really badly injured, I kind of have, like, while he's shooting, you see me kind of pick him up around his waist. So he's still shooting the gun, but he's like, I pick him up like a sack of potatoes, and I'm like, you know what? If we're gonna make it out of here, you're bleeding to death. I'm gonna carry you out this way. So he kind of like fireman carries him up, and using the heavy mace, is there like a area in the wall or in this mounding that I can sort of crack a hole in with my mace, or with this newfound mace?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna swing and hope that I break a hole, like, because I've got that bloodlust kind of like soaring in my head at the moment.
Yes, you do.
And just survival mode is kicking in. And I'm going to just swing at the wall as hard as I can with this mace and try to break a hole into it.
Go ahead. And I'll even let you, you're holding Xander, you're running, you're charging with this thing, and it feels good. It feels like a part of your hand.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah,
as far as damage...
Oh, go ahead.
What would I roll as far as damage goes? Because I don't have that weapon.
For now, what I'd probably do it is like kind of an enhanced hammer, warhammer kind of, so it'd be like a D10 bludgeoning. So do a D10 bludgeoning plus 1, we'll say, just for now.
Sounds good.
So plus 1 to hit, plus 1 damage, and it's a D10.
Okay, perfect. So that is going to be 17 to hit.
Okay, yep. So you will hit the wall. Go ahead and roll the damage, and I'll tell you what happens.
So it's a D10 plus 1?
Yes, and then whatever your strength would be.
Okay. Aha! Yeah! So 10 plus... So 11, 12. So 12 damage.
Awesome, yeah. This mace feels just super good in your hand. It feels like it's part of you. And so you've got Xander up here, and you kind of you swing back, and as you hit the wall, you realize that this mace has worked itself into the bones in your arm. And there's a reason why it was in this prison. And there's a reason why it was locked away, and there's a reason why it was wanting to drink all the blood. So essentially, all of that damage is done to you as you hit the wall. But the wall does break. So you take that damage as well.
Okay. So, let's see. 12 damage. So that's going to drop me down to... Okay, so I'm down to 7 hit points. But, yeah, that was awesome.
So describe to me how this feels. Describe to me how.
Okay, so Teague, he's hearing the we want the blood, we want the blood, we want the blood, and he starts to feel this almost like he knows stories of the Kraken, and he's heard it before, and he sees the hammer almost kind of meld and melt like a Kraken's tentacle would wrap around and just starts to dig into his arm, and he starts to see that like the same shape from what he scraped away is actually on his tattoo is actually forming on the other side of his arm, but it's in the metal, and even though he knows it's bad, like he can feel that, man, I probably shouldn't do this. He knows, like, this actually feels really good. I'm okay with it. And he just takes it, and he can feel like waves of pain rush up his arm. But in that anger and that frustration, he just doesn't care, and he's just like, freedom. That's all I want right now is just freedom to get away, to escape. I'll worry about what happens to me later, but he's flinging that forward, and he almost hears a couple of whispers like, yes, more, like damage, like the more and more damage he can cause, the better.
Yep, and you also hear, you know, in one ear you hear one thing, and the other ear you hear another. So in the left ear you hear, we want the blood, and then in the other ear you hear, stupid dwarf, they fall for it every time. Stupid dwarf, sing us a song, stupid dwarf.
And so he's kind of got this juxtaposition where he's like, I love this, I want this, and the other part he wants to just break his arm off because he's getting constantly bashed on the other side of his head, and he doesn't want to fling Xander, but it's almost tempting because he just wants to fling Xander through the hole and just start bashing his own head in with how much anger he's got going on right now.
And as you fight that temptation,
yeah,
Amalgam gets to go.
Yeah, okay. We're good.
Sorry, I was muted. It was my turn to be muted. The bricks and the stones and these magical items continue whirling around you to the point where it almost looks like a cyclone in the center of this room that you're trying to escape, with all these pieces kind of interlocking, and you see that they're sort of taking on these shapes. Some of them look like animals, others are vaguely humanoid, others just look like shapeless kind of spherical forms. And a voice calls out again, the same voice from the very walls that are crumbling around you. I must achieve perfection. I will not be discarded again. I will not be locked up. I will journey to the four corners of Arthenvale. I will travel across the Bleak to Ankeia and Erenoth. I will find the lost pieces of the Amalgam. But I will remember the name of Copper Jackals as those who first opposed me in my crusade.
And so I throw it back to Alekis, the swashbuckling rogue. What are you going to do to live, man?
Well, if the others turn to look at Alekis, he's got the silver whistle in his mouth, and his face is red at this point. He's just been blowing it. I think that it's ultrasonic. I don't think anybody can hear it, but hopefully the Manticores can, because he's blowing that whistle like crazy. And it sounds like there was a hole punched in the wall, right?
Yes. Chad actually self-sacrificed a good deal of damage, and one of his arms, he still has it, but it's definitely looking hurt.
Yeah, so he has like just a little knapsack of random baubles. I don't know if they're going to be like pulled out of his hand. He's basically going to try to get out of there with as many items as he can, because he figures even if we can't use them, it's better that they're not in the hands of this guy. So,
no, I love it. What you would see as you're red-faced and I'm imagining that like your big old rogue cheeks, as you're doing that, you would see just a shadow. And you remember what Zardo said, and he basically said, if you're too close to danger, the Manticores can't come right in there, but they'll get as close as as they can without putting themselves in immediate danger. So what you can see through that hole is essentially the Manticores are circling, and you're going to have to try to jump on.
Yep. Okay. So that's exactly what he's gonna do. He's gonna run right past his companions there, and as he jumps through the precipice, he's going to snap the second potion. I believe we got 2 potions of Featherfall, right? So he's gonna snap the second one, and like a silvery mist covers him like a cloud as he starts to fall.
And the Manticore will assist you and try to meet you there. And we'll leave you in the air going toward a Manticore as we move on to Josh.
All right. So, seeing that he just broke open the wall, and I see the Manticores coming, right?
Yeah, you would probably see them coming, even though you're a little dizzy, maybe a little bloody.
I kind of like, as I quickly see my friend the gambler just quickly drink that like that's like almost like a whitish potion or just smash it on his face. I just kind of I take the same kind of potion in my hand and just quickly just do not even thinking to drink, just kind of smash it on my head like you do with like a like a beer bottle beer can. You just go. But same thing with the.
You're going health potion like Kegger. You're like.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, I do that, and then I just kind of kick off of the Piper's shoulder to like start to go onto a Manticore and meet up the same way.
All right. So if you're not at full hit points, you need to roll 2d8 plus your Constitution modifier. And then also, what you need to do is hope that you land on one of those Manticores.
Oh wait, then I'm gonna be dead by then. I need to drink another potion.
What about 2d8 plus your Constitution modifier, and you'll be dead?
Oh wait, you're saying like health wise.
Yeah, like you.
Sorry.
From the potion, you roll that to take for yourself for positive.
Okay.
Damage.
Sorry, I was like, what?
No.
Die.
What an unfair jerk DM. No, I'm saying that you need to get back in hit points, and then I'm saying it's not a guarantee you're going to hit that Manticore, but we're going to leave you in the air, and Alekis is just a little behind you. So right now it's that freeze frame of you guys just like as Teague stands there holding his new best friend.
All right, hold on here.
Well, I'll let you roll your health potion stuff, and then we'll move on.
I thought I was doing my Featherfall potion.
Well, I'm sorry. I thought you were saying you were going to use your healing potion.
Yeah.
That's where I
my health. Yeah, so I don't die first. All right, so yeah, I just do the Featherfall. That's why I was confused for a second. I was like, wait, what? Why are we talking about health?
I thought you were saying a healing potion. So then you would cast Featherfall as well, and I apologize for the confusion.
Yeah. Okay, that was weird.
So you're still in the air. You're still falling. You're doing your thing. And Chad, what do you do? As this building is not just collapsing, but leaving in a swirl, in this ridiculous cyclone, as you're basically about to get sucked in.
I see the cyclone behind me, and I get up on like the ridge of where I made this hole, so I can see the Manticores out there, and I can see it, and I take one like good look back at this cyclone as it starts to whip around. I don't know what the hell you are, but I promise I will use this to beat the living crap out of you if you ever come near me or my home ever again. And I jump out from there, like not looking back. I don't even care anymore. I'm gonna just jump off and jump out and try to like paradrop right onto a Manticore. Closest thing I can get.
No, that's perfect. So what you notice in all of that is that you can't let go of the mace.
I figured as much because it wasn't.
So I'm just making sure you know it's basically like if you were to look at it, the two tendons where your arm would be, like the connecting bones and everything like that would go into your hand, it's kind of just in there just so. So it's nice and dug in there. So you're doing everything one-handed. You can let go and have an open hand, but you can't let go to where the mace wouldn't be in front of it.
Oh, nice. Okay then.
So the three of you are falling, and you see these manticores circling, and you're just praying that this whistle worked and that they're going to not eat your faces if you're feeling any kind of fear or showing weakness. So we'll go through, and in a quick way, action movie style, in succession, just keep it punchy, keep it like Stallone, Schwarzenegger. We'll go through each person. How do you land onto the Manticore? Locrius, how do you land on the Manticore?
I imagine that Alekis, the thing is flying, and I imagine Alekis like swinging and looping his arm around the thing's neck and just swinging up over, and then sort of like surfboard style, standing on the thing's back. Not standing, but crouching on the thing's back as he grabs the reins.
Beautiful. Josh, what do you see?
Sorry, I'm being bombarded by people right now. Hi. Okay. So what happens is that I
As you try to
like kind of spread.
Dude, you can start a fire in here. You
Right.
gotta get out.
I am so sorry, guys. Oh, no,
We are angry.
Stop. Seriously, don't do that. All right, so like I kind of Xander just opens up it is like the flying squirrel kind of thing, or the flying squirrel suit. Just open up his his arms to land on the back of this Manticore, and like whatever he grabs, whether it be the feathers or the reins, he just grabs it tightly just to show who's boss, so that he knows, so that the Manticore gets the message who's in control.
Perfect. And then finally, Teague.
All right, so you said Stallone style, so what I'm going to do, like action movie style, he knows weight distribution. Teague knows weight distribution a little bit. He flings his mace arm forward and lets the weight of the mace carry him and propel him straight down. And as the manticores are flying around, he like lifts up the mace, and the heavier it is, like the more he propels in a certain direction. So like he uses the pendulum motion of it to kind of help him get a hold of a rein and pulls himself up, trying not to smash this manticore in the face as he like grabs hold of both of the reins and just guides it home. Just like, yeah.
That's perfect.
The
Manticores do a lot of the work, so that you guys know. That's why I didn't make you roll, because they are trained for this exact thing. So, they swoop in, they're circling. As all three of you do what you're doing, you find that they take over. They have a flight path in mind. You're not really guiding them. They're taking you back to where they know you belong. And as this is happening, as you're flying away from what was the Uldane prison, I'm going to let Matt sort of narrate what is happening with the pieces of Amalgam.
Awesome. So, as you guys kind of fly away and you look back, you see that, the form of the Uldane prison, this sort of, gigantic dwarven shape, is falling apart, all the pieces just peeling away from it layer after layer, and you see the innards of it, all the passageways and corridors, all the little alcoves that hold these magical items. All of it just kind of falls away, and in a matter of seconds, it's just pieces, and these pieces are swirling in this cyclone of debris, and pieces just slamming into each other and connecting as Amalgam constructs hundreds of mini amalgams. And as quickly as they formed, as quickly as this cyclone formed, it flings all of them in every direction, faster than bullets, just, and a few kind of fling past you, and the manticores have to kind of bank to avoid these things flying past you. And Teague, you kind of feel the mace in your hand. It almost kind of pulls, like it feels like it's almost trying to get away from you as these pieces are flying past. Like it feels like I need to join with them. I need to be a piece of them. But then it kind of lets you hold it as these pieces fly by. And the last thing you see before all of these things disappear is just a single card, like a playing card, flying end over end through the air. And as it passes by and you get a look at it, it just has this blank face. There's nothing written on this card. And it just kind of whizzes by and disappears, just a dot on the horizon, and then it's gone.
And so the flight back is sort of a breath of fresh air. The silence of the edge of the Sphere Mountains is a welcome change. You have a lot to report, but when you get back, the Manticores drop you off on the perch, and you take the elevator down back to the room where you started. So you know the corridors, you know the passageways, you kind of are able to find back to this place that is where you were with Scalder. And in the middle of the room where there was once a roaring fire, you see something that is very surprising. In the middle of the room, instead of a fire, there's a flat piece of stone. And atop that flat piece of stone lays all of your possessions that you threw in what you thought was a fire. And Scalder's words ring in your head, without compromise. And that is where we're going to end it tonight. So, great job, everybody. Dude, that was sick. Special thanks to Matt from A Fistful of Dice for killing it playing Amalgam.
Dude, thank you for letting me play, man. I am in the midst of getting married here in a couple weeks, and so I have not been gaming. So when you asked me to do this, I was like, yes, please. I would love to, man. That sounds great. So I love playing with you guys, and that was a blast.
It was awesome. I really I love how everybody made it their own. There were plenty of times where it went a little differently than written, but the way that it went was so much cooler, which is really essentially what we're trying to do in tabletop RPGs, right? Is just that collaborative storytelling. So I'll let everybody run through, plug your channel or anything else one final time, and then we'll go off the air. So I'll start in reverse this time. Go ahead and Chad, I'll let you go first.
Yes. So Chad, and just remember to check out gastrogamer.wordpress.com, and like I said, I should hopefully have it up for BrigadeCon, because I'm trying to run some stuff for BrigadeCon too. So there's that. We're gonna have the YouTube channel up for that.
Very cool. Very cool. Dice Roller Josh, I'll throw it to you, man.
Alright guys, I'm Dice Roller Josh, of course. Again, haven't been very channel, Dice Roller Josh on YouTube, but I'm going to try to do that with more games, especially being involved with BrigadeCon, trying to be involved there. And, let's see here. Yeah, just being more productive than I've been. And sorry about the interruptions, guys.
Yeah, so good luck with those lovely ladies who are obviously pining for some time with Mr. Dice Roller Josh.
Pretty much.
So check out his channel, Dice Roller Josh, and then we'll throw it to the Minister of Sound, Mr. Locrius of Planetoid.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Locrius. I had such an amazing time. Oh my God, what a great adventure! It was so good. It was like if Peter Jackson directed the Transformers in the style of Miyazaki, the Japanese animation guy. It was so amazing. You guys are all awesome. Check out everybody's channel. Matt Click from A Fistful of Dice. I don't know if he was going to give a shout out, so that dude is inspirational. Everybody here, just so much fun. My name's Locrius. Planetoid's my band, and thank you all. You guys are great.
Yes, sir. And I will throw it to Matt Click from A Fistful of Dice next.
Thanks, man. So yeah, I'm Matt. I run the channel A Fistful of Dice, and things have been quiet over there lately, but I'm getting married in a week and a half, so I will be back after all of that is taken care of, and I've got some pretty big plans for the channel. So you'll see a lot more from me in the latter half of August, so I'm pretty excited. And Tim, thank you for inviting me, and guys, thanks for letting me attack you with flying swords and rugs of smothering. It was awesome.
For sure. And, you know, one other thing that's going to be happening is we're going to be picking up the Provokers again soon, which I'm super stoked about. If you're not caught up on what that is, it's another 5th edition, campaign that we're running over there. Check out Matt's channel. It's a good time to kind of catch up so that you're ready when we jump into this next session.
I'm running reruns over there right now, but we're going to come back with
it's summer vacation. It's Tonight Show reruns. So I'll just close it out by saying I'm Tim with Tabletop Terrors. You can't see him, but James is skulking around here. He was a huge help. He always helps me keep things on the rails. But check out our channel, Tabletop Terrors. Subscribe, go to tabletopterrors.com, and look for more Copper Jackals games in the near future. Until the next time we all talk, may your dice roll high, and we'll talk to you guys soon.